All right, we are live. I'm just gonna share this with my Discord server, this live stream link, and then we'll get started. Go to my channel, share, copy, Discord, announcements. Everyone, I'm going live now to YouTube video. Chill with me. Okay, that is done. And let's change this to so. Let's see. Wow, Chica's went really viral. Omi, hello, good morning. Coca, I like the blue shirt. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, Devin. And the solid Nate reacts. What's up, King? What up, Nate? What up, guys? Thanks for chiming in. Otherwise, I have no idea if you're watching or not. Wow, Tika's one went 71K. She's doing pretty well with that video. A month ago. Oh, that was already a month ago. She's gone back home after she had her 1 year in Australia. Haven't had a call with her in a long time now. We used to do weekly calls with a group of YouTubers, and she was one of them. But let's see. Let's see. Cemetery fog. I got everything I wanted, so why do I feel empty? Let's try this.
Hey guys, it's Ray. How's it going? Lately, I've been thinking that what comes after a dream comes true? I mean, yeah, I had a lot of dreams, goals when I was young. And
hey Devin.
yeah,
Lamau,
I was
my
very
video
lucky,
is on
so
there.
I achieved a lot of things that I wanted to. Like going out loud, being a musician, speaking in English, living in Tokyo, things like that. And now, I'm kind of empty. I mean, when I was chasing my dreams, it's kind of, I focused the goals and I had a lot of passion, energy. You know what I mean? And yeah, and I'm in my 40s, and if I'm lucky, I might live for like 30s, 40s. 30 years or 40 years, right? And I mean, what am I gonna do? Yeah, actually, I wanna improve my English, guitar playing, yeah. And but these things are not brand new. It's kind of part of my life. So and yeah, people might say, so set new goals. Have new dreams, but it's not that simple, I guess.
Hey, would you
Yeah,
come in
the
again?
dreams just popped out.
You always push the door open.
I didn't think too much. What am I gonna do, or what is my dream? Things like that. It just there. So I just chased it. Yeah, that was simple.
Mochi's begging.
That's not complicated. But if now if I think my dreams or goals, it's not true goals.
He has candles in the
I
back.
feel.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit silly. It's I. I want too much,
No, Mochi, no.
but yeah, I'm sorry about that these days. But I think that's life. I mean, having goals or dreams is very, very great thing, especially when we are young. And yeah, and also I think many people say they wanna do something after they retire. You know, going abroad, or studying English, practicing guitar, having band, because they are very, very busy for their work or their kids, family. But on the other hand, me, I don't have family, I don't have kids. Yeah, I'm not married. I'm a freelancer, so I don't go to office or something. I have a lot of time to do what I want, and yeah, I did a lot of things that I want. So I don't have any goals or dreams after I retire. I mean, I can't retire. I can't retire because of my work. I don't have how can I say? I don't have company pension or things like that. And yeah, the thing what I wanted to say is having goals or dreams is really, really amazing, and yeah. And I'm not used to not having these things. It sounds like a luxury problem, but I'm really struggling about it. Yeah. And also, I realized that I was chasing dreams for too many years, I guess. Like 20, when I was in 20s, 30s. Yeah. So chasing a dream is kind of my part of my life, and it's quite normal for me. And then now I don't have it, so maybe I'm not used to it, right? I'm just not used to it. Yeah, maybe chasing a goals is not everything, right? I'm not sure, but okay. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.
Interesting. I never finished this video.
Is digitally replaced or altered using AI so that of a celebrity. Now, most of the deepfake porn abuse we've seen so far are of celebrities. This is not just because famous people make for easy targets. There's also a technical reason behind this. Traditionally, for an AI deepfake model to become ready to start producing deepfake of a specific person, it requires a process called subject-specific fine-tuning. To use a face swap AI model as an example, this is where you need to feed many images and videos of the specific person you want to deepfake into the AI model. The AI then uses this data to learn about that individual's unique facial details. And only after that will the AI be ready to start producing deepfake of that specific person. Now, typically, only famous people would have enough digital copies of their faces and voices publicly available to use for subject-specific fine-tuning, which is why they were the most common victims of deepfake abuse. Now, it was some deepfake models. I don't mean an esoteric machine. At the same time, deepfake is becoming increasingly easy to create. It used to be a more technical process, which meant that only those with enough technical skill. There are ethical implications even when deepfake is used for what seems to be harmless fun. Let's take memes or parody deepfake as an example. There are quite a bit of them on the internet right now, like this one for Keanu Reeves, and this one for Tom Cruise.
I fly on the side of the plane, outside.
On the one hand, I recognize the comedic and artistic nature of these productions. They are no doubt funny and are in a way comparable to impressionist comedy like Jim Carrey doing an impression of Joe Biden on Saturday Night Live.
I know what'll calm me down. My new Harry Styles meditation tape.
We dip our toes in the cold, wet sand.
Nice.
However, my moral alarm goes off a little bit for parody deepfake in a way that it doesn't for impressionist performance, and this is because of the idea of autonomy and consent. In short, deepfake seems to rob people of their bodily autonomy in a way that impressionist performance doesn't. Take this video as an example. Keanu Reeves himself has never been to that apartment, let alone cleaning it in the way that is shown in this video, yet it seems as if he did. In a sense, you can say that the deepfake creator did. Keanu Reeves that in control form action that he violation of digital bodily and probably just use digital bodily autonomy to some extent, have a small and weak looking body. So the filmmakers did a couple of things to produce these scenes of a small and weak looking Steve Rogers, one of which is again to use a stand-in actor and then swap in Chris Evans' facial performance, and again no AI deepfake was used. This movie came out in 2011, half a decade before the word deepfake was even created. Now these pre-AI face swaps were done manually, with good old-fashioned visual effects such as CGI. Large teams of visual effect artists would manually alter each frame of the footage to replace one person's face with another. AI deepfake simply provides a fast BB in Friends, fake AI taking over human jobs too. For example, actress Lisa Kudrow, who played Phoebe in Friends, famously criticized the film Here for using AI deepfake technology instead of traditional visual effects to de-age Tom Hanks. Quote, "What work would there be for human beings?" Now, since AI deepfake are only producing output that, in principle, skilled humans could have created, we can't say that deepfake is fundamentally bad. After all, humans have been manually doing what deepfake does for a long time, in creative and productive ways. So like other AI tools, whether it is harmful often depends on how it is used. Because AI deepfake is essentially just faster and cheaper visual effects,
Haha, cool. Haven't been on Discord server for a while. Shajo. Oh, you're Shajo. So I came here to see what's up. And by the way, will AI get even worse for our world or no? There's a really good video on AI. If you guys haven't watched it, maybe I should watch it again with you guys. Oh my gosh, what the hell is this guy? What is that stupid motorcycle doing? Get away. We never get like a noisy motorcyclist coming into our area.
harms of deepfake are really harms of speed and accessibility and the scale resulted from them. Let's start with speed. Manual visual effect, with some reports suggesting it to be as much as doubling every 6 months. Now, there was a conspiracy theory introduced back in 2021 called the dead internet theory. The idea was that the majority of internet content that we assume to have been produced and consumed by humans were actually produced by AI and bots. You probably encountered some comments on social media before that look kind of strange, where you think, maybe this is a bot. Well, the dead internet theory would suggest that this is the majority of the internet. That the internet is so strange, where you think, maybe this is a bot. Well, the dead internet theory would suggest that this is the majority of the internet. That the internet is essentially dead, with most of its activities consisting of machines and bots talking to each other rather than real, authentic human interactions. Now, back in 2021, when this conspiracy theory first came out, it sounded extreme to many people. But it's 2025 now, and the proponents of the theory can cite reports like how AI-generated content has gone up by 8,000% in 2 years since the release of ChatGPT in 2022. Almost half of all web traffic came from bots in 2024, and predictions like 90% of all online content will be AI-generated by next year. Now, I don't know how true these numbers are, and I don't want to get too derailed by conspiracy theories here, but there is some truth to the dead internet theory in terms of the direction the online content landscape is going. And this is especially salient when we look at how social media algorithms behave when it interacts with machines. And transparent with your sources, and accountable for your errors, and fair and impartial with your delivery, etc., etc., as per the good old journal. is that it enables something called liar's dividend. This is a concept Chesney and Citron introduced in their 2018 article in the California Law Review. The basic idea is that when a criminal is caught committing a crime, you might worry that the criminal would use deepfake to alter video or audio evidence to contradict the accusation, and that is indeed a legitimate concern. But the criminal can do something more pernicious here. They can simply claim that the original evidence against them is deepfake, even if it isn't, and the public might be inclined to believe them given what the public knows about deepfake and what it can do. In fact, the more awareness the public has about deepfake, the more inclined they might be to find the criminal's claim credible. It's like there are so many wolves out there in the world, and everyone has become so keenly aware of the frequency of wolf encounters that when someone falsely cries wolf, and this habit of doubt might not only stay online either. We could become so used to doubting everything that we carry this default mode of suspicion over into our daily lives. By that I mean our real lives, in the world of atoms, where the laws of physics apply, where we need to have face-to-face interactions with real biological humans and attempt to live and cooperate amongst 8 billion strangers. When we carry this pervasive sense of doubt into our lives in this way, it can erode trust on all levels, from institutional trust to interpersonal here. So we're at the end of the video now, and you might be looking at me to deliver some kind of punchline. You know what I think? I think we're all too online. I think we all need to stand up from our desks and away from our screens and leave our houses and walk the streets without staring at our phones. But it sounds like all I'm saying is that you should get out of your house more and touch grass. I mean, is that really all I'm saying? All this commentary is culminating in the most generic advice ever: to touch grass, and that's it. I'm joking. I will tell you why. Everything we've talked about, from the accessibility of deepfake tools to the maliciousness of its misuse to the widespread of lies that's poised to break down our culture, all of them can only directly influence the world of bits, and that is the online world. Deepfake AI and generative AIs have no direct power in the world of atoms, at least not yet at this time. That is poised to change, however. A great many smart people are currently devoting their lives to the project of breaking AIs out of their cybernetic prisons, giving them arms and legs and wheels and other appendages that will allow these AIs to materially interact with the laws of physics. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing, nor can I predict the timeline of their progress. Those are questions for different videos, perhaps. But the fact remains that we don't yet have Terminators running naked through our streets at this point in human history. So while we still have, for the most part, exclusive access to the physical world, before our cybernetic...
Yeah, to be honest, I believe in the dead internet theory. I saw a video about the alive internet hypothesis or something like that. That was a pretty cool video. Maybe I'll show you that as well.
Roommates come along to share it with us. We should maybe take this opportunity to really savor it. We should never have taken it for granted, but we do. We do it all the time. So this is my attempt at reminding both myself and everyone to, if only for brief moments of the day, marvel at this incredible moment that we call life. Yes, I'm sure what's on your Instagram feed is good stuff. I'm hooked on it as much as the next guy, but take your eyes off it for a moment. Look around. Look at the sky, even if it's a bit cloudy. Look at the trees and the shimmering lights that shines through the leaves. Take a walk, if only for a few minutes. Look at your friends, even if you only have a few. There's no deepfake here. This is real. It's true. And it very simply is. It's not as engaging or clickable, but I heard that its depth is infinite, if one will only remember to notice it. Have a good week.
Cult of hard mode. Let's try this.
There is a moment in nearly every founder's journey when they abandon the elegant for the elaborate. It's not when they scale past 10 employees or when they land their Series A. It usually happens much earlier, and it starts with a tool. A friend recommends Apple Notes, another swears by a simple Airtable base. But our founder wants to feel, keyword, serious. So they build a fortress in Notion, layer it with custom automations, API calls, and embedded docs. They hire a systems thinker to map out a productivity architecture that looks like it could control air traffic. And within a week, no one on the team can find the meeting agenda. This is not a fringe case. It's a pattern. Where simplicity used to signal elegance and mastery, it now triggers suspicion. Why? Because hardware status lives. In 1985, Italo Calvino delivered a series of lectures that became the book 6 Memos for the Next Millennium. The first virtue he praised was lightness, the ability to distill, clarify, and float above the heaviness of the world. In Calvino's hands, lightness was a form of intellectual and aesthetic grace. I do not believe that tech culture today has any patience for lightness. Instead, it rewards baroque complexity. Engineers perform feats of convolution. Designers argue for maximal configurability. Founders pride themselves on having We are building a world where nobody remembers how they know what they know. This sounds like the premise of a dystopian novel. It is, in fact, a relatively normal Monday. A note-taking app reminds you of the paper you read last April. A summarizer digests it into 4 bullet points. A chatbot recommends you cite it. A search assistant drafts the paragraph for you. All you have to do is nod. The interface even thanks you. This is the point where someone usually pipes up and says, but calculators didn't kill math. Which is true, but they did change which kinds of math we teach,
This guy should really watch his videos after he edits them, because sometimes he loops the same clip from different takes, and yeah. I don't think he's a very good thorough. He's not a very thorough editor. He makes mistakes like these quite often.
Which kinds we value and which kinds we forget. When a skill becomes automatic, it stops being foundational. And when a skill becomes foundational only in the abstract, it's easy to overlook what's been hollowed out. The current wave of AI productivity tools is reshaping cognition more subtly than calculators, and faster than Google. It's answering our questions before we realize we had them. It's an intellectually lethal optimization of attention, and the result is knowledge without contact, facts without friction, and intelligence as a service. There is a
Does it ever feel like this entire life, the way it was built, the way everything is designed, just feels like one big gigantic game that we never actually asked to play? You know, all these tasks, all these things that we have to do, these responsibilities forced upon us. Like, we never asked to do any of this, and it all feels like a game. It doesn't feel real, it feels like a simulation. For example, we're spending most of our lives, most of our days working, and all we end up earning is pieces of paper or a digital number, you know, something artificial. You know, it's just made up by humanity, and humanity just decided to give those things value. They decided to give pieces of paper value. They decided to give digital numbers value. You know, it's just digital numbers on a screen. You know, and it's exactly how it is in a video game. For example, you play a game and you have to do all these tasks, and then, you know, some games will have like a little bank account in the corner to show you how much money you have, so that you can end up upgrading, you know, upgrading your haircut, you're upgrading your clothes in the game or whatever. And it essentially feels like the same thing in real life, except the only problem and, you know, the only issue is that in real life you can't actually put in some cheat codes to make the digital number go higher, because that's all it really is. You know, that's how I see it.
I noticed that, and this is something that AI told me, is that a lot of Gen Zs have this feeling that life is a simulation, like the Matrix. It's a very common sentiment. That's what I was told, and this is the first time I'm seeing it being spoken by a Gen Z person after hearing that from an AI. I don't know if you guys feel that way, that life doesn't feel real and it's a simulation. I think that's more accurate than saying life is just atoms and matter and cells and DNA and all that. That's the materialist view is less accurate than the simulation view, I think. But yeah, it's funny that he's saying the simulation feels like a simulation.
It's a digital number. Our bank account.
100% I do. Oh, cool. You too, eh? He has a good mic on the bright side, to be fair. Oh, the previous guy, the essayist, right? Yeah. Yeah, he's a good writer. He writes well, and he just needs more practice with speaking his writing, but he'll get better with that over time, and his writing is already very good, so that's why he's attracted so many people to his channel, 12,000 people. I'm not talking about Life Outrage, I'm talking about the Westenberg or something, that previous guy we were watching.
The digital number in our bank account is the same digital number that you see in a video game, and there's no difference. The only difference is that you can't cheat it in real life. That's all. Even right now, I'm finding it hard to find motivation to apply for jobs, which I've been doing for a while now. And, you know, just thinking about going back to a job, it's just kind of almost repulsive, if you know what I mean. It's just thinking about the idea of having a boss telling you what to do and having to deal with coworkers, dealing with small talk, dealing with fake positivity and all that stuff. I'm just kind of like done with all that. You know, I just, you know, there was once time when I just viewed that as normal. You know, having a boss.
Yeah, I feel for this guy. He doesn't want to do it, and he's kind of being forced into doing it again, to go into that kind of environment. Yeah.
You know, having a boss tell you what to do, and you're just gonna have to simply do what your boss tells you to do. And, you know, having to deal with coworkers and dealing with their bullshit and dealing with them talking about their lives and, you know, engaging with their conversations and trying to keep the peace. You know, all that once looked normal to me, but now it does not look normal. It feels like a performance. It feels like I'm living like a robot, basically. It just feels like we're programmed to do all these things that we just don't want to do. And then suddenly I just woke up and was like, what the hell is all this? Like, what is this life? Like, why are things built like this? Why have we decided to, you know, consider all these things as a normal and the, you know, the path to success? And it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to me. I just can't stand that in this life all we have to do is chase money just in order to survive, because, you know, we don't really have, like, we have to do things just in order to survive. Like, we have to do it. That's the part of, you know, the way life is built, the way it's designed, that I disagree with. I do not like the things that we have to do. You know, we never actually really get a chance to actually do what we want to do, because, you know, even if you get to do something that you want to do, you still have to be forced to do things that you don't want to do, if you know what I'm talking about. You know, you could have so many dreams in your life, you know, all these goals, dreams, hopes and dreams and all that stuff, but they're always going to be part of the system. You know, whatever you want to do is always part of the system. Say you want to travel to all these places, which I have nothing against traveling. Traveling is actually one of the best things to do, actually, what makes me feel alive, but the reality is that with travel, you kind of have to depend on the system in some way. You know, you have to depend on, you know, the flights and the hotels and you know, you can't. There's this restriction. I feel like this restriction of you don't actually feel completely free because, for example, you know, with all these flights, hotels, you know, food and all that stuff, you have to work to earn money in order to be able to afford to do all those things, all your hopes and dreams and stuff. And I don't.
So it sounds like this guy believes that the default state of life should be a paradise, and because it's not a paradise, where you don't have to work and all that, it's a broken system. I mean, fair enough. If that's what you think life should be, then obviously this life seems broken. It's hard to know whether the shoulds of whether this utopian view is the way it actually should be, and comparing everything against that. I don't know how helpful that is to looking at the lens to look through this life with. I agree with what this dude's saying. In short words, with pros, there's always cons.
I don't know, the way I view this life and the way it's built and everything, it just feels like they're constantly asking, the society and the system, they're constantly asking you to level up, if you know what I'm talking about, level up in this game that we never asked to play. You know, in order to secure a full-time job, in order to secure a high salary, you have to go to school, you have to follow these steps in order to, and it's just exhausting. I just can't stand it. Even the term high salary, it's like, why is there a term called low salary and high salary? Why can't it just be simply money? Why can't we just all be equal? Why is life unfair? Why is there a competition? These are the questions I ask myself all the fucking time, and I'm just tired of the way everything's built in this life. Like, you look at people on LinkedIn, for example, and LinkedIn is something that I actually created just in order to get a job, but it was only until a couple years ago that I had like old coworkers that added me and stuff, and you know, I added them back, and I was like, okay, what's the whole deal about, you know, people my age going on LinkedIn? Like, I thought LinkedIn was like an old people thing, but no, apparently a lot of young people are actually getting into LinkedIn right now. And you know, I see all these posts on LinkedIn, and I'm like, all these things about like, oh my god, I'm happy to announce I'm finally starting this new position, and I'm so grateful for the journey I've been, all the struggles and hardships that I went through, and I can't wait to see where this journey takes me, and all that fake positive bullshit.
I think a large part of why he's so negative is not just because of the utopian viewpoint that he has of, you know, life should be completely freedom with no responsibilities. That's one reason why he's dissatisfied with this life. But another huge reason why he's dissatisfied with this life is because he has a constant drip feed of people on social media who he sees that he just cannot stand. And if you fill your feed with people you cannot stand, then you're going to have a more toxic view of your life and other people's lives and the way society is. That's why I don't look at LinkedIn, I don't look at Instagram, all those social media sites where you compare yourself with other people. That's super toxic to look at on a daily or even weekly or monthly basis. He's got to stop looking at all this LinkedIn feed and Instagram feed. That's part of what's making him so bitter and resentful. Heck, if I was looking at Instagram feed and LinkedIn feed all day, I would turn into more like him. So I hope he recognizes that that's not... I mean, I guess he's using LinkedIn to job search, but don't look at the feeds, man. The feeds are toxic. It's called an infinite drip feed. That's toxic for a reason.
Like, guys, it's just a fucking job. It's just a fucking job for you to like survive, you know. Or, oh, I graduated this and I have my degree in this, blah blah blah, and all that. And it's just going to take you to the next step of getting that certain job that's going to be high paying. And it just adds on to this, you know, frustration of mine of how it's just this entire like leveling up culture and trying to show people where you're at in life and how good and successful you are and how you're going to.
That's exactly why I don't look at Instagram and LinkedIn and such things like that. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And I guess the younger people use Snapchat as well. Like, just don't. Just delete all those things and disable your account, or use it Instagram as Messenger only, and use LinkedIn as a job search site only. But don't look at the feed, man. He's looking at the feed.
Maybe, and you know, there's like no consideration for people who, you know, are struggling or going through hardships. It's just like, oh, look at me, I'm doing well in life, all that blah 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 stuff. And it's just, I don't know. There's just something really dumb and stupid about it. I just can't stand LinkedIn and the culture behind it. It's just fucking stupid. It's like this constant.
Yeah, so stop using it if it's stupid. It really is stupid. You're right that it's stupid, but you should stop using it because it's stupid.
Constant routine of having to work, earn money, and then spend on, you know, your basic necessities like gas, groceries, food, you know, the rent bills, the roof that you're staying under. You know, it's just, and all that simply depends on a digital number, and that's what's just kind of frustrating. I just can't stand this. I can't stand it. Oh, this is probably the worst video I've ever done because I'm just rambling at this point, but I decided to make this video just because I'm just frustrated right now. I'm just feeling this constant pressure of how to find a job, get hired, go to interviews and all that stuff, but nothing is actually happening. I don't know what to do. I don't know where, I'm going right now. I just don't know because it's like, I have to work and, and I'm applying for jobs. I'm not getting callbacks, but also the idea of going back to work is frustrating me because I don't want to deal with the boss and coworkers and, the workplace culture and...
Actually, I had a friend who got a job after he moved from Kenya back to Canada, and that friend did not use LinkedIn or job search sites at all. He went the networking route, and he met people, asked them out for coffees. He had a bunch of coffee dates with these people who were in his field, and he was asking more about the types of jobs that were available at their companies. It was a whole process, but that's how he got the job that he has now. It wasn't through an online site. So there are other ways, although it's more difficult probably and just takes more effort. There's no easy way. Job applications online, you can apply easily. Yeah, you just apply online, but then the chances of getting it are like 1 out of 800. So probably less than that. So yeah, there's no easy route. I feel for this guy.
Corporate and all that stuff. Like I just can't. I don't know. The fact that the term cost of living is even a thing is what's really messed up and about this society, this system. Like, why is there a cost to live? Why? These artificial things, these pieces of paper, these digital numbers depend on our survival, depend if we get to live or not. I'm just feeling this constant pressure of having to get a job right now as soon as possible, even though, the idea of going back to a job is soul sucking. It's just draining my soul. Just the thought of having to deal with a boss, the thought of having to deal with fucking coworkers again. It's just, I can't fucking do it. But it's definitely something that I have to go back to eventually if, just so that I can live, just so that I can survive. But at the same time, it's like this entire process, this entire competition, this entire game that we never asked to play. It's like, I'm finding it hard to find, the positive side of all this, the true purpose for me to be like, oh yeah, I want to live this life. Oh, I want to play this game. It's just like, I don't know. It's just, it all feels pointless to me. I'm trying, but at the same time, it's like, there's also this part of me that's like, why even try? It's like, why should I make all this effort? I'll definitely have to do the effort, to move forward, but at the same time, like, why? Like, what's the good? Like, what's the good in all the end? Because I just know for a fact that, the end of the destination is all going to end the same way for all of us. And I'm trying to just find like any, reason to view this game as worth it, because it really is all just a game. It feels like a simulation, and it feels like just a robotic competition against others to, move up, level up, basically. And it's just kind of pointless. Like every single thing that we have to do, for example, when it comes to work, when it comes to going to the doctor, going to the groceries, making money, whatever, you're kind of dealing with the system in some aspect. You're never actually truly free. For example, I could make money on my own doing a side hustle or something, but then, there's going to be these taxes or, extra requirements or little things like things that you have to do and having to depend on the system itself just in order for you to make money. You're not truly free. There's this, the way I see life is that there is an invisible leash on you at all times, whether you're employed or unemployed. There is an invisible leash all the time. When you're unemployed, obviously, you're going to feel the thoughts of society, the system telling you, hey, you have to work, hey, you have to find a job, get a job, go to school, get that degree, get that raise. Those are the thoughts that come into my mind as an unemployed person right now. Because yeah, sure, a lot of people probably say, oh, he probably has it easy right now, he being unemployed, not having to deal with work, but these thoughts, they're just there all the time, and it can get really exhausting. And also, when you're employed, the leash is probably even more obvious because the leash is tied to, your company, the company that you work for, the boss that's going to tell you what to do, going to define when you get to get time off or not, when you get to go to the bathroom, having to deal with coworkers, telling you, bossing you around sometimes. That leash is much more obvious in the workplace and much more worse, but I definitely just feel this invisible leash on me at all times, no matter what the hell I do, no matter if you're unemployed or employed, if you have a job or not. It's just that leash, that's the society, the pressure, the system is always there, and it feels suffocating. There are days when, like right now, it just feels suffocating, and other days I'm able to cope pretty well, but this is just one of those days where I can just feel that leash on me. Like I never asked to be born, nobody asked to be born, but yet we're just forced into the system where we're forced to do all these tasks, have all these responsibilities onto us just in order to survive. Just chasing that degree, chasing that job, just in order to that high-paying job, just in order to make ends meet, and it doesn't feel right to me. It just doesn't. There's something completely unnatural about it. What I view as natural is something that that comes from the earth, that grows from the ground. But all this money, jobs, taxes, bills, rent, school, grades, all that is artificial. It's man-made constructs. It's pointless. It's all a joke. It's all a game. It feels like it's just invented for us to go through struggles in life. And then there are these people out there who view all these hardships and struggles and all these constructs as normal. And they'll tell you things like, oh, life is hard, life is unfair. Oh, this is the real world. You're gonna have to learn how to deal with people in the real world because the real world is gonna walk all over you if you don't actually do something about it. Blah 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 and all that stuff. And all these types of sayings is kind of just reinforcing the fact that this world that we're actually living in is actually shit. It's actually fucked up. And all these people are just saying shit like, oh, life is unfair. This is the real world. You're gonna have to learn how to deal with people. All these people, when they don't realize that when saying these things, they're actually thinking that they know that the world is messed up. They know that we live in a fucked up society, in a fucked up system, and yet they're just trying to pass on wisdom to the people that are like done with the system, done with society and people. You know, they're trying to act like they're, you know, they're offering like advice and stuff, but yet they are aware that the world is shit, but they're trying to view it, they're trying to cope and think that all this is normal when really it's not. What frustrates me is that these people know that this world is messed up, but yet they still end up having children anyway. And I'm like, I constantly ask myself, like, you know, if people, you know, for example, if my parents knew that this world is shit, this world is messed up, then why the hell am I here? Why did you decide to have me? I'm constantly asking myself this question all the time. It's like, they know that in this world there's a bunch of struggle, a bunch of hardships, and so like I'm constantly asking myself, why the hell am I here? Why did you guys decide to have me? If you know that this world is messed up and that we have to deal with horrible people all the time, you know, learning how to communicate and compete and fake your way through those job interviews so that you can secure that high salary job, you know, it's messed up. Like, there are so many things that I wanted to do as, you know, when I was younger, all these hopes and dreams.
I wonder if he ever asked his parents that question, why did you have me even though the world is messed up? That seems like a conversation that he hasn't opened with his parents, but it seems like it's on his mind and he's wondering about the answer, but he's not willing to ask his parents that question.
And, you know, just realizing that, you know, you have to go through so many steps, so many tasks, so many responsibilities in order to get to that point. And it's not like I'm asking, you know, a lot of people assume that, oh, I just want everything handed to me for free. That's not the point. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that I deserve to have everything I want in my life, but I'm just saying, like, why is the system built like this? Because this system is something it's a construct. You know, it's not real. It's man-made. And so why do we have to play this man-made construct in order to attain something? And it's almost making me kind of like lose interest in some of those hopes and dreams, because I realize how it's all part of the game. You know, you wanting to do this and that, it's all part of the, you know, it's actually part of the system.
T-Cock Flux, what's up? I was thinking about you today. Yo, T-Cock Flux, what is up? Glad you're joining. Just watching some YouTube, some live outrage. I usually don't watch them, but I'm checking a few videos out today on my subscriptions tab. Let's see.
And that's kind of like the dark reality of all our passions, our hopes and dreams, is that it's all tied to the system. You know, for example, you know, when I was younger, I always wanted to make my own films. You know, I wanted to be a filmmaker and stuff. But, you know, there's all these tasks, these steps that you have to go through the I don't know, you need to have these connections. You have to be born in the right country, born in the right city in order to network yourself and, you know, suck up to these people in Hollywood. And I don't know, and then if you don't want to go to the Hollywood route, then you're gonna have to make a lot of money. And how do you make money? Well, you need a job. And you need a job. And how do you get a job? Well, you have to apply and go through all this tedious process of earning that job, because you have to convince this other being that you're actually worthy to be part of this company, so they can work and then fund your dreams. And it's really all part of the game. It's part of the system, you know. And honestly, if I did have all the money in the world right now, then I would.
He must be going through a lot. What's the video about? About being tired of the system, of being part of this wage slave society. I think that's one way to sum it up.
Yeah, I would, you know, just be able to do, you know, follow through with my dreams, but having to play the game, having to be part of the system, you know, having that invisible leash around you at all times, just so you can attain to that spot where you can finally say that you made it. You know, and even if you do make it, you still have to keep hustling, keep grinding. It's because that leash is all, it's going to be around you all the time. It's like saying, for example, you were able to own a house, get an apartment, have a car. It doesn't feel like freedom to me. You know, it might feel like freedom on a surface level, but, you know, when you really look deeply into it, you're not actually free, because you're going to have to be paying bills, paying rent, paying taxes, and all that stuff, and you're never actually truly free. And you also have insurance that goes into this, and it's all part of the system. It's all part of this game, this simulation. You know, everything is designed for us to, you know, depend on the system for just basic needs, basically. And like, it's kind of crazy how society expects you to have a job, but the system is designed in a way that it's hard for you to attain a job. Like, where's the logic in that? Like, how do people not see how much of a joke this is? How we're supposed to have a job to make money in order to survive, but why is it hard for us to attain a job? And also, to actually keep a job, because sometimes you have to deal with unnecessary bullshit in the workplace, like bosses and coworkers. Like, I'm probably gonna have to go back into the workforce one day if anybody decides to hire me, so I can, you know, make money and just to simply survive. But at the same time, it's like, why? You know, what's the good in surviving in the long run? Like,
I wonder if he can rely on his parents and live with them and not have to worry about living expenses, and for how long he can do that. Because he can lean on family and avoid the system for longer. And for how long, I don't know. That's up to his family situation and what their willingness is, but
I don't see the point. I already made a video on this a while ago called "Long Life Is Not Worth It." So, you know, what really is the point of me, you know, keep playing this game? Like, it's crazy how, you know, the only time we're actually feeling truly peaceful in this life is when we're actually...
Dark Ninja, www. Trying to get to #1 spot.
sleeping. You know, when we sleep, we don't actually worry about anything. You know, when you wake up, you have to worry about, oh, what do I have to eat? Oh, it's time for me to go to work. Time for me to look for jobs. Time for me to apply for jobs. Time for me to pay bills. Time for me to pay taxes. You know, and when you sleep, do you do any of that shit? No, you don't. You just keep on dreaming. You can keep on dreaming. You can have nightmares, but, you know, even though I take those nightmares over this reality, if I'm being honest with you. It's like I'm in a spot where I have to find some sort of purpose in order to keep on surviving.
Is he being suicidal? He's frustrated. I wouldn't say he's suicidal, although in a previous video he has said if he could choose an easy way out without affecting those around him, he would. He did say that in a previous video, but I don't know if that opinion of his has changed over the recent months, or if he still thinks that, but he's not suicidal, as far as I know. Cause saying what's there to live for is kind of fucked up. Yeah, what's happening?
But I'm also in a point where I'm like, why? You know, why play this game when the system is rigged, when the system is built against you? That's designed to make you fail. You know, it's a never-ending cycle, basically. You know, you just work and you spend, you work and you spend. And gosh, this is probably my worst video, actually. I'm just rambling about whatever at this point. I don't know what to say anymore. It's exhausting. This life, this existence, this competition, this competing, the system, society. It's just, why? Like, why keep playing this game when it gives you so little? If you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm just gonna wrap it up. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hope you guys have a good one. See ya.
They say life is a gift, but what kind of gift demands that we earn the right to keep it? A true gift is given freely, not handed out with conditions or tests of worth. If we must constantly prove ourselves just to exist, then maybe it was never a gift to begin with. Hell is having to search for a job you don't want just to survive, so you can keep doing more of what you don't want to do. Society is a prison until you're rich. Most of his comments are on his side. F society. Is there more to live for? If we sum up everything to that, you always gotta work to exist. Of course it might seem that way, but I don't agree with that. Let's see. Gen Z is not... Wow, this one did well for him, Alex. 200k.
I want to be clear right from the start. This is not a political video in the sense that it's not about left or right, red versus blue, none of that sports team nonsense. Because the situation right now is obvious. Most Americans don't want to go into an offensive war against a country that never attacked us. And if you really want my full political take on the situation between Iran and Israel, maybe I'll flash a short text wall on the screen or something, and I'll talk a little bit about the geopolitics of the situation at the end, to my best understanding. But this video, this message is not about that. It's about how people like me and other young men around my age actually feel in this moment. In this moment when we hear things about escalation and a possible draft or World War III, even if it's in a joking context. When we see the images and the videos of missiles lighting up the night sky, politicians puffing out their chests as if they won something. And even though I'm someone who's fortunate enough to live in America, where I don't have to fear my home or my city being struck by some kind of missile, this issue means a lot to me as well, and it should mean a lot to you too, if you're anything like me. Right now, as of this moment, it's not just talk anymore or memes you'll see on an Instagram reel about World War III or us getting drafted. Trump has just launched a major attack on Iran's nuclear sites, and we don't know how they'll respond, but there will be a response. When they do respond, the whole cycle of escalation kicks into motion. The truth is that if things ever do end up spiraling out of control, it won't be the people in the suits or the politicians on the TVs paying the price. It'll be the people like us, whether in America, Iran, Israel, or any country involved in this. Men who are young, broke, and already tired of carrying the burdens that we didn't create. We're the ones they'll expect to show up when something happens. And on the surface level, all of this might look like international politics, but underneath it, there's something much deeper, something more existential and personal. Because this moment, this declaration of war, is the logical endpoint of a society that's been telling young men for years that our lives do not matter. In every fundamental area of life, from the education system where it starts, to the job market, to the dating market, the economy that we're living under, and now war, every step of the way, we've been told that our lives do not matter. Where this messaging starts is, of course, the education system, even from a very young age. For young men, especially, the system isn't built for how we learn. From the moment we enter school, we're told to sit down, shut up, follow the rules, listen to the teacher, raise your hand when you have to go to the bathroom, and just do what we're told. We're ranked, judged, standardized, taught to memorize and regurgitate, not to think critically, do your own research, or find purpose. We're scolded for being restless, for being active and energetic, for not being a model student. Our natural strengths are oftentimes labeled as toxic, our curiosity is crushed, and throughout the education system, we're oftentimes either bored into submission or labeled as problems to be medicated. And over time, the gap grows. Obviously, women also have their own fair share of problems that they deal with, and I'm not trying to minimize that, but when it comes to education, boys usually fall behind, while girls, on average, are starting to outperform. And that's fine, this progress isn't inherently bad, but instead of lifting both sides, our society seems to lean into this disparity. For example, with certain extreme DEI initiatives and other things like grants and funding disproportionately benefiting women and specific minority groups, a lot of young men, especially those from average working class backgrounds that are not considered true victims in this sense, get overlooked completely. I'll even take a second to air out my own grievances. I went to one of the top high schools in the country, I had almost a perfect GPA, almost a perfect SAT score, in fact I was one question away, math competitions, AP classes, IB classes, all the legitimate accolades you can think of, and I was still rejected from every single Ivy League school that I applied to. Ultimately things turned out for the best and I'm grateful for the path that I ended up on, but a lot of young men in my situation got screwed over, and their place at prestigious universities taken by other people who were otherwise left.
Hey Devin, I am back. It's quite surprising how Trump hasn't released the Epstein files. It's not surprising at all. That's not surprising at all. That's That's textbook Trump. Of course he's not going to release it. Do it for another day. Let's see.
Welcome back to the vlog.
Okay.
Oh, we got 2 unboxings today. The first one is from Dara. Previously, he has sent us delicious Persian snacks. It looks to be the same deal this time. Oh ho ho! Oh ho! Adventure Archives. Hi Robbie, enclosed please find a snack to try on your next adventure. These are Persian rice cookies, non-Barinji. They're a bit on the dry side, so I'd recommend having a drink handy. Happy adventuring, best. Thank you very much. You know what, we're gonna have to try one right now. Pretty good, very unique. Texture-wise, it's like a
Hello.
Have you watched the kid who stole $250 million worth of crypto? Malone Lamb. Well, I guess he got caught since we know his name. They're very dry, them cookies. I did not hear about Malone Lamb.
Today I'd like to talk about how I'm finally figuring out how my body works. That's despite being 41 years old and having gone to medical school and residency and practiced as a surgeon for a little over 9 years. And my dad's a doc, so I grew up in a medical family. Yet, I'm just beginning to understand how my body works. How is that? Well, before I get into that, I'm in the Washington Cascade Mountains doing some hiking, trail running, and bicycling. Here's a blowdown. Let me get going under here. It's early season. The snow is literally just, uh-oh. Look at this. You shall not pass, like Gandalf. I'm just gonna go around. And under. Ooh. I've had to crawl on my hands and knees a couple times already today to get under some really big blowdowns. Yeah, I'm out in the Washington Cascades, hiking, trail running, bicycling with an e-bike, like a mountain bike e-bike. And it's really taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot about my body. And it's building on knowledge I've gained over the last 10 years, 11 years, 9 years of practicing spine surgery and 2 years of, no, not 2, almost 2 years of, well, not being a doctor. I'm not unemployed anymore because I make these YouTube videos and they pay for some of my living costs. Thanks for watching these videos. That actually helps me buy the groceries and pay some of the rent, so I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful to be able to share some of these insights and experiences, feelings, and thoughts on this platform.
Wow, he has 555,000 subscribers. 555. That's pretty cool.
Well, I've been out here for 5 days. Well, 4 full days. And I've gone about 50, well, by the time I finish this hike, which I'm getting close to finishing, I've gone 53 miles on foot, probably around 70 miles on my bicycle. Now, the bicycle is an e-bike, so the battery and electric motor do a lot of heavy lifting, especially in the uphill. So I don't really count the bicycling that much. More the hiking in the mountains and some trail running, like when it's downhill or flat.
No mochino.
I don't run uphill. It's too much energy expended. Well, doing things like this have really taught me how my body actually works. And contrasting that to other times in my life. So, let's see, where to start? Okay, there's some mosquitoes, so I have to swat at them. Although, this is a really weird blowdown. You have to get across it. So, shoot, I was just about to get started. Now I'll have to figure out a way around this. Okay, before I begin that part, I have to, my disclaimer. Now, for the important things that I've learned. I've been drinking way too much water my whole life. Except when I was in the operating room for really long surgeries. Like, I was in a brain tumor surgery. Sometimes, oh man, one of them lasted like 16 hours. And
oh my God.
I think for that one, my partner came and helped me out so I could go pee and poop. Well, I don't know if I even pooed, but I peed and I went to the cafeteria, I got some food and drank some liquids, water. I said water. Drink some water. But that's like the kind of outlier surgery. Most of the surgeries probably lasted anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 hours, and I won't drink or eat or pee. Road. Let's see, where is the trail? have to come across this road later. I think the trail is... I see a sign. Oh, good, this road is paved. It's excellent news. I'm going to bicycle across this to get back to my car. In like a couple hours when I finish the site. So I've been drinking way too much water my whole life, except for when I was in the operating room for many hours.
That sounds like
There's
me.
always this like push to hydrate. You gotta stay hydrated. You don't want to get dehydrated. Oh no. There's all these commercials. Gatorade. I don't know if that's someone that says Gatorade does your body good. I don't remember if that's the sales page. But or maybe that's milk. Milk does your body good, which it doesn't. Milk doesn't. Milk is for baby cows, not humans. Although cheese is pretty yummy, but it does require very inhumane conditions for animals to be in the dairy industry. So yeah, okay. I got digressed. I'm gonna come back. There's a lot of advertisements for Gatorade, Powerade, electrolytes, electrolyte powder, electrolyte drinks, hydration drinks. Don't go for a hike or a bike ride without taking your electrolytes, because you'll get a muscle cramp. You'll get dehydrated. You'll feel awful. That's all marketing. Now, it is true, though, if you drink too much water. So this is the thing that I figured out, with my body at least, in this climate, which is the Pacific Northwest, which it's June and it's cool. I'm wearing a sweater, even though I've been running. I ran up and down a mountain. No, I walked up the mountain, I ran down it behind me, already 6 miles. I still have my sweater on because it's cold in June. That's because I'm at higher elevation, and June is still pretty cloudy.
This chat is too damn quiet. Well, I guess we're all watching it together, that's why. Or maybe it's just me.
I'm like right below the snow line. A couple days ago I was hiking through a bunch of snow and it was actually quite difficult to get through. But in this environment, I'm actually pretty cool. I'm sweating some, but
I actually, hey, Super Saiyan Scandinavian, Olav, right? I actually ruined my health a long time ago from drinking too much water whilst having an aversion to sodium because my mom demonized sodium. What a bad combo for me. Yeah, I've been locked into the video, haha, yeah. Me too, been locked into the video.
I'm not drenched in sweat. And so...
too much water. Now I take an electrolyte every day, which significantly helped my health. Oh, good. Glad you're course correcting. Yes, Olav. Cool.
I don't actually need that much electrolytes. In the last 4 full days, I've had 0 electrolyte powder or electrolyte drinks. I've had no salty foods, except for yesterday when I went into town and I got a basket of French fries and a large salad with dressing on it. It's the only salty food I've had in 4 full days. The rest of the time I've just been eating oatmeal, which I cook at the van, and I have blueberries and bananas that I eat with the oatmeal. And then I carry a bag of, well, it says macadamia nuts on the bag, but I'm just using the bag. It's got, well, it does have macadamia nuts in it, but it's got sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, macadamia nuts, and then I have a bag of flaxseed that's separate. Because flaxseed, they're so small that, like if I don't chew them up really well, they're just gonna pass right through me. That's why people run it through a coffee grinder and make flax meal. So I keep the flaxseed separate, so that I can just like put a tablespoon or so in my mouth, and while I'm walking, I just chew on it for a long time until it becomes flax meal in my mouth. That sounds kind of gross, but it's actually kind of fun because they're really tiny seeds, and it's kind of fun. It like gives me something to do, and it makes me not hungry because all these things I'm carrying, flaxseed, sunflower seed, pumpkin seeds, macadamia nuts, they're like super calorie dense. Good amount of fat, fiber, protein in the seeds, not so much in the macadamia nuts. And I can eat them while I'm walking. But these are all unsalted. That's important. I always buy the unsalted versions. Salt, sodium. So, why am I talking about this? The reason why I'm talking about this is because this is the key, at least to my experience in my body. The relationship between water, salt, and...
It's interesting you're watching this after your video a couple days ago. My video a couple days ago was... what was it? Oh, one problem with living alone, food. Right. Yeah.
Energy from carbon bonds. whether that's carbohydrates or fats or proteins. I guess proteins have carbon and nitrogen. And some have.
Only thing I care about, to be honest, is calories and how much protein the food has. Yeah, same.
Sulfur. But they're all bound to carbon in some way. So organic chemistry, essentially. That means chemistry of carbon bonds. So it's the relationship between water, sodium, well, potassium too, but sodium is, I think, a critical one for humans. And potassium is critical too, but for the purposes of this talk, I'm going to focus on sodium. I mean, there's other salts like magnesium and calcium, but I think they're more peripheral to the discussion. So three things and how they interplay: water, sodium, salt, and carbon energy, whether that's through carbs, fats, protein. It's just energy that your body burns. So there's three things. On this 4 days, I have not had hardly any sodium in the 4 full days, despite hiking 50 miles over. It'll be 53 miles, and bicycling like 70 miles with an e-bike, so that comes with an asterisk. Hardly any sodium. Oh, Gooby, that's really dangerous. Oh, there's something running through the forest. I didn't get a good look at it, but it's big. I think it's a deer, but I'm not sure. So I want to make sure it's not a cougar. It wasn't black, it was like gray fur. But I think a cougar would be very quiet. Cougar, you wouldn't even know is there. I think it's a deer. Just gonna check behind me every once in a while. Make sure. It wasn't black like a black bear, so it was big though. My guess is it probably weighed like 140 pounds, 150 pounds a human. It's the way that it was impacting the ground when it was running. Yeah, I don't see it. Okay, so going back to my experience over the last 4 days, I've done pretty intense physical exercise, but haven't eaten salty foods. I would estimate my sodium intake really to be very minimal on most days, except for yesterday when I had French fries and salad with dressing for one meal. But you know what? I have no cramps. I don't even have any blisters on my feet. My muscles don't hurt. My head feels good. My heart and lungs feel strong. You know what? I haven't even drank that much water either.
No sodium in 4 days is kind of crazy. Yeah, food, even natural foods have a little bit of sodium, but yeah, no added sodium. That's a big difference.
What? If you told me this, if I told myself this 3 years ago when I first started backpacking, I would have told myself, you're crazy, man. You're going to get hurt. You're going to hurt yourself. Well, this is why I'm telling you that I didn't understand how my body works.
If you like horror after this, we can watch Lazy Masquerade. Oh, I do not like horror. Horror is too haunting for me after I watch it. Is that the 10-minute video that's really good short film, horror film, Lazy Masquerade? I recommend the Malone Lamb video. Okay.
Yeah. Well, at least this part. There's still things I don't understand, but the hardest hike day was 2 days ago. I was hiking 18 miles, and half of it was through snow. Snow is really hard to hike through because you slip and slide. You have to use all these.
No way.
Oh my gosh, that's such a...
So this guy is rich. I mean like $230 million rich, because he stole it, and then he went wild. Now the guy's name is Malone. He's 20 years old, and he's really into crypto. And one day, in 2024, he and his buddies are all in a chat. And one of them is like, hey bro, let's find someone who has millions of dollars in Bitcoin and scam them out of it. And Malone hears this idea, and he's like, alright. And so they search around, and they finally decide on a target. This seemingly random yet wealthy investor living in DC, who we'll just call Investor. And so the guys deep dive, and they get Investor's information, and they get his phone number, and they call him from a spoofed number, pretending to be Google tech support, like, hello sir, your personal accounts have been compromised. Then afterwards, they call Investor from a different number, and they say they're from his cryptocurrency exchange. I'm calling to alert you that your account has been hacked. And once Investor believes he's been hacked, it's easy to convince him to reset his security information. Then the boys get him to share his screen, which exposes the private keys to his Bitcoin wallet. Once they get Investor's private keys, they use them to access his Bitcoin wallet, and boom, Malone and his bros secretly transfer over 4,100 Bitcoin out of the account and over to themselves. And at this time, 4,100 Bitcoin is worth around $230 million. $230 million. Oh, I gotta leave. And of course, Malone and his friends are like, holy shit, they can't believe this actually worked. And so they're freaking out and they're celebrating in the chat. And for some reason, one of their friends is recording the whole chat.
No way. Oh my god. No way. Bro, almost pass out. You know how much money, brothers.
Now, this recording of them celebrating is gonna be very...
No, he does deep dives about internet mysteries. Really interesting. Just check out a few minutes now. Disturbing online rabbit holes you should know about. Oh, okay. Alright. Lazy Masquerade, okay.
very important later. But whatever, right now, these guys are suddenly richer than they've ever imagined. Not only that, they're smart enough to know they gotta cover their tracks. Since every transaction on the blockchain is publicly viewable, they make all this really hard to track by splitting the coin into different accounts, and yeah, blah blah blah, boring crypto stuff. They move the money around to make it untraceable. That's all you need to know. And so Malone and his bros suddenly have this insane amount of money, which they've never had before. So now it's time to start spending it. Now Malone's friends, they don't really do all that much with it, not right away. Oh, but Malone does. Malone goes wild. He becomes like a cartoon parody of a rich person. Like he gets some fancy new drip, including diamonds embedded in his glasses. He and his friends are flying around on private jets, and he starts renting this huge waterfront mansion in Miami that costs, wait for it, $68,000 a month. $68,000 a month for rent. And of course, he buys all the cars he's ever wanted. No, really, like bro buys like 30 exotic cars. Damn, how much is he driving? He even got a Lamborghini with his name painted on the side. He also goes out to clubs and gets bottle service everywhere just because he can. Oh, and he doesn't buy the cheap bullshit bottle service. No, let me tell you how much this guy spends. Dude regularly goes out to the club and drops anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000 a night. A night. He buys the most expensive champagne. He tips everyone. The staff's putting his name up in lights. I mean, they love him because when the dude's there, he buys drinks all night.
Why did a table come in tonight and spend $300,000 on bottles like it was nothing?
And he always tips the staff well with money and alcohol.
He even tipped me $2,000. When I tell you the amount of bottles he sent me that I took home, brand new, everything sealed.
And of course, Malone doesn't forget about the ladies. I mean, he's got to try and buy their love too. I mean, he'll buy a $50,000 Birkin, which is like a purse. He'll buy $50,000 purses and go to the club and just hand them out to pretty women like, hey, this is for you. I guess he's hoping they'll smash with him. I mean, some of the women later made TikToks about it.
He comes towards me and he's like, I got this for you.
He only lasted a month. He only lasted a month. That's hilarious. That's what happens when you're a kid.
Guys, I can't even make this up when I say that. I just woke up to a Birkin in my bedroom because a man gave it to me in the club last night.
But I guess poor Malone ends up learning the hard way that not everyone can be bought. Because at one point, he tries to buy a pink Lamborghini Urus for some woman supposedly they had dated before. And so he buys it and he texts her a picture of it at 2 a.m.
I got you a present. We'll call it an early birthday gift. A thank you gift. I appreciate you so much.
I'm taken, once again. I don't care. I'm not gonna lie, for some reason, I love that she rejected him so hard, like something very satisfying about it. Anyway, despite that one L he took, he is still absurdly wealthy now. I mean, he has the house.
Ha 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 ha, literally.
And the cars he wants, and everyone at the club loves him. Bro is just living the dream.
Until.
Okay, real quick, there's one person in the story I forgot to introduce, so let's rewind. So Malone and his bros have just stolen $230 million worth of Bitcoin.
Let's pass out. You know how much money, brothers?
And they make it really hard to track by splitting it into different accounts and blah, 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 boring crypto stuff. And at some point during all this, a guy gets a notification on his phone. This guy, Zach XBT. So Zach XBT gets an alert on his phone because I guess he gets an alert every time there's a larger than average crypto transaction on the blockchain. Now, who is Zach XBT? Well, Zach is a bit of a crypto enthusiast himself, and he's kind of a big deal on Twitter. 740,000 followers. Not bad. And at one point in the past, Zach unfortunately got scammed out of $15,000 worth of crypto. And ever since then, he's decided to devote himself to catching crypto thieves and exposing shady NFT projects and stuff like that. And so Zach has caught on to the accounts run by Malone and his bros. And since every transaction on the blockchain is publicly viewable, he starts tracking the path.
Oh, the 14-minute video is incredibly detailed too. It's crazy what these honestly did.
Of each transfer. So by the time Malone has spent all this money in the club and bought a $250,000 car for a girl that doesn't want him, Zach has been mapping out the path of all the stolen money. And at this point, he's pretty sure he knows who's behind it. And when he checks social media one day and sees this guy Malone flexing his wealth all over Instagram, he's like, boom, this is one of the guys who stole the crypto. Now, remember that screen recording of the chat I said would be important later? Well, one of the guys in Malone's friend group, and I don't know if he was snitching or what, but he actually sends that recording to Zach. And of course, it's audio of them celebrating stealing all that money.
Let's pass out. You know how much money, brothers?
Not only that, that recording of the chat I said would be important later. Well, one of the guys in Malone's friend group, and I don't know if he was snitching or what, but he actually sends that recording to Zach. And of course, it's audio of them celebrating stealing all that money.
Let's pass out. You know how much money, brothers?
Not only that, the screen has information on it that identifies Malone and his bros. So this becomes very important evidence. Anyway, Zach XBT gets sent this information, and I imagine he's like, sweet. And so he collects all of it and he sends it over to the FBI. And the FBI, they start investigating. And only a month after the heist first took place, boom, federal agents swoop in and they raid Malone's home. And bam, they arrest him. And this is actual footage of him being arrested. And also, here's his mugshot. And they also arrest one of Malone's friends who was involved, but I couldn't find his mugshot anywhere. And one of Malone's other friends who was involved hasn't been charged as of yet, so maybe he flipped on the others. I don't know. Regardless, Malone is charged with conspiracy to steal and launder over $230 million in crypto, and he faces up to 20 years in prison. However, he hasn't been found guilty as he hasn't been to trial yet, so all of this is
alleged.
I'll keep you updated.
It's all publicly available. Dude was smart enough to carry out that huge fraud, but not enough to actually handle the money. All he needed to do was retire and keep silent. Oh my gosh.
No way.
Today, a group of young adults carried out one of the largest crypto heists ever recorded. 20-year-old Malone Lam, 18-year-old Virgil Tal, 21-year-old Jendiel Serrano, Danish Khan, and Chen. These kids targeted a single Genesis predator who had no idea they were about to lose a staggering $230 million worth of Bitcoin. But how did they pull it off? Were they expert hackers with advanced coding skills? Well, it was much simpler than it seems. These scammers did something very clever. They hacked into basic human nature. It all began with a phone call, a seemingly harmless contact from Google support, but this call wasn't from Google at all. Using a spoof number, Vital, also known as Wiz, convinced the victim that their personal accounts had been compromised. With this false sense of urgency, he gained access to the victim's Gmail and iCloud, where he gathered key security information. Another call followed, this time from Danielle Serrano, aka Box, claiming to be a representative from Gemini, the crypto exchange the victim used. The victim was tricked into believing their account was under attack. Under pressure and convinced they needed to act fast, the victim reset their two-factor authentication settings, giving the thieves the access they needed to take control of the Gemini account, quickly sending funds to a compromised wallet. The situation was spiraling, but the victim had no idea. When he was asked to use AnyDesk, a remote access software, it seemed like another step in securing their assets, but in reality, it was the final blow. As the victim unknowingly shared the screen, the private keys to their Bitcoin wallet were exposed, and in just a few clicks, the digital fortune was transferred into the hands of the thieves.
Oh, wow. No way. No f***ing way. No way. Oh my God!
In a private video, they recorded the live reactions to the successful transfer of 4,064 bitcoins valued at over $230 million at the time. Clearly excited as they watched the millions flow into their wallets. How did they manage to pull off such a heist? How could someone with that much wealth be deceived so easily?
Rumors say the person they stole from is actually from the show Shark Tank. Oh, interesting.
And why will they record themselves in the act of committing such a massive crime? These are questions that might never be fully answered, but one thing was clear. The money was now in the hands of the criminals, and they knew their work wasn't done yet. Exactly 17 minutes after, they quickly set about laundering the money. To make it harder for authorities to track the stolen crypto, they split the Bitcoin into smaller amounts and transferred it across 15 different exchanges, a common tactic known as scale chains. The idea was to break the large transactions into smaller ones, making them harder to trace. Bitcoin was swapped for Litecoin, Litecoin was swapped for Ethereum, and Ethereum was swapped for Monero. The process took several days, with constant swapping between different currencies and exchanges, further obscuring the trail.
Do the top right, the settings bar. Settings, no, not that. Like the swap settings. Set customer recipient. No, bro, what the hell? Do 998.
Alright, bro, you're so horrible. You can't. Bro, I'm gonna be busy, Caleb. I got ice.
Soon enough, all the stolen money was now clean money, ready to be spent, and the criminals didn't hold back. The day before the heist even took place, they were already planning on how to spend their fortune, sharing links with each other on Telegram of expensive luxury clothes they wanted to purchase, from brands like Louis Vuitton, Givenchy, and Philippe Plein. While most of the crew chose to play it safe, keeping a low profile and resisting the temptation to splurge, one man couldn't help but stand out. His name, Malone Lamb. Malone was based in LA, and the moment he got his hands on the money, he wasted no time diving headfirst into luxurious lifestyle. Everything he had once watched the wealthy people enjoy was now within his reach, ready to become his new reality. Nightclub became his second home. Almost every night, he hit the club, spending ridiculous amounts of money on VIP sections above.
The gambler, I thought they stole from someone in DC. Oh yeah, Washington DC.
His bar tabs were unbelievable. Some nights costing $265,000, $300,000, and even more than $500,000 in a single night. If you were in one of those clubs, you couldn't miss him. His name would be flashing on signs, and DJs would shout his name, giving him all the attention. He quickly became everyone's favorite because whenever he was around, everyone got to drink for free. He threw around cash like it was nothing, and one time he even paid the DJ a massive 6-liter bottle of Golden Ace of Spades champagne, which would cost anywhere from $25,000 to $60,000. Another time he tipped the DJ $2,000 and had all the unlockable bottles in the club sent straight to his house.
He even tipped me $2,000. When I tell you the amount of bottles he sent me that I took home, brand new, everything sealed, brand new.
But as fun as LA was, it still didn't feel like enough. He craved more attention, more luxury, more extravagance. So what did he do? He chartered a private jet to Miami. There, he took his spending to a whole new level. In Miami, Malone settled in a waterfront mansion. This place wasn't just any house. It was a $10.5 million estate with a $62,000 a month rental price tag. This mansion was massive, covering over 8,500 square feet, with 25-feet ceilings, 10 bedrooms, and a huge pool with a jacuzzi. It had 2 big front gates and a garage with a spacious driveway that was later filled with expensive supercars and luxury vehicles. Malone bought a black Mandarin SF90, a white Lamborghini Urus, a fully kitted out white Mandarin Lamborghini Urus with baby blue interior, a matte black Lamborghini Revuelto, the new Porsche 911 GT3 RS, the new Ferrari SUV in black, 2 Mercedes-Benz G-Class, 1 in grey, 1 wrapped with matte black camo, a convertible matte black and pink Rolls Royce Dawn, a blue BMW M4, another Lamborghini Revuelto in matte grey, a blue Lamborghini Urus, an all-white white body kit Lamborghini Aventador SVJ with Malone's name written on the bottom of the door, a matte black Ferrari X4 Superfast, another Lamborghini Aventador SVJ in blue, a pink Urus, which Malone originally bought as a gift for his ex-girlfriend to try to get her back, but got rejected again. A fully black carbon fiber McLaren 765 LT, a blue Pagani Hardrock, and many more cars. If you didn't realize it by now, Malone was always rolling with fashion. He rocked high-end designer pieces like Louis Vuitton and Givenchy. His style was expensive, with the most expensive piece of clothing being the McLaren Maya 70 by Paul Major's jacket, which alone cost $50,000 or more. But after all this wasted money on clubs and cars, Malone finally decided to invest his money in timeless pieces that would hold the value over time, like this Cuban link chain bracelets filled with diamonds, a Richard Mille covered in diamonds, and a diamond ring for each one of his fingers. One Richard Mille wasn't enough, of course, so he bought multiple. Even his glasses had diamonds.
Yo, don't take no video.
Malone wasn't just a millionaire obsessed with himself. He had a generous side, often using his wealth to give back to others in need. He bought 5 Birkin bags and gave them away to random girls at the club. One of his lucky ladies was a model named Olivia Allen.
Guys, I can't even make this up when I say that. I just woke up to a Birkin in my bedroom because a man gave it to me in the club last night. This is your sign to go clubbing.
Another lucky lady who got a Birkin bag was famous TikTok star Sky Bree.
Me and my 2 girlfriends walk over to the section, and this kid, I'm gonna refer to him as like a kid. I mean, he was definitely over the age of 18. He looks pretty young. He comes towards me and he's like, I got this for you.
She ended up saying she didn't like it.
It's beautiful, but to be honest, it's not really my style.
While Malone was busy making his name known, flaunting his wealth at every turn, he was also drawing the wrong kind of attention. His outrageous spending, paired with his desire to be noticed, made it easier for authorities and blockchain experts to track him down. Investigators, including prominent figures like Zach XPT, were closely watching the flow of the stolen funds, tracing each move as he splurged on cars, clubs, and luxury items. The more he spent, the more obvious it became that his newfound fortune was linked to the heist, and soon enough, the walls started closing in. Malone thought he was untouchable, but behind the scenes, law enforcement and experts like Zach XPT were already connecting the dots. Through his flashy spending, investigators tracked large transactions linked to the stolen Bitcoin, using blockchain analysis to map out the movement of funds. What's more, both Box and Wiz slipped up during the process of laundering the funds. On several occasions, they accidentally linked the stolen funds with their personal assets, which, for example, also leaked his full name during a screen recording, while Box reused deposit addresses, making it easier to trace the funds back to them. These mistakes, combined with recorded conversations and digital footprints, painted a clear picture of the criminal's activities. By mid-September 2024, the FBI and other authorities had gathered enough evidence to act. On the 19th of September, federal agents raided Malone's Miami mansion, where he was arrested, surrounded by all the luxuries he had bought with the stolen fortune.
We have boom, and we thought that was a shooting in the neighborhood, and we saw a lot of police. This was something that never happened in this neighborhood. Most of the time, it was a lot of party. It was party because I can hear from the music.
Netflix are creating a documentary about it.
There was a stark contrast. Malone, who had lived like a king for just a short while, was now being led away in handcuffs. Authorities were able to freeze over $9 million in stolen funds, with $500,000 already returned to the victim. However, a significant portion of the stolen money remains in cryptocurrency wallets. At the time of making this video, $21 million linked to bots is still sitting in one wallet, while Virgil Tao, also known as Wiz, has around $39 million tied up to his account. Additionally, $4 million of Malone's funds remain untouched in another wallet. But what happened to everything else he bought? The cars, the clubs, the private jets, and all the flash stuff. See, when a criminal buys luxury items, like cars, with stolen money later gets arrested, the government steps in and seizes those assets through a process called asset forfeiture. This allows law enforcement to take control of anything purchased with illegally obtained funds, such as cars, houses, or expensive jewelry. Once these assets are seized, they are usually put up for auction. In many cases, dealerships or buyers, including the same dealer who originally sold the cars, can purchase them again, often at a lower price than they were initially sold for. The money made from these auctions then is used in a couple of ways. A portion of it will go toward compensating the victims of the crime, helping to recover some of the stolen funds, while another portion will be used to cover the cost of the investigation and legal proceedings. If the victim is lucky, he can get 50 to 65% back after the auction and administrative fees, the cut the investigators will get. However, in Malone's case, 3 of the cars he purchased, the Mandarin Lamborghini Urus, the Lamborghini Revuelto, and the Porsche 911 GT3 RS, were later transported to LA following his arrest. These cars were spotted by EFF Spot, a popular YouTuber who is known for his rare and expressive car spotting videos. In this particular video, both the Revuelto and the Porsche appeared with noticeable damage. The Revuelto had significant front end damage, while the Porsche was dented in the rear, suggesting that the Revuelto had likely rear-ended the Porsche. This kind of damage will undoubtedly decrease the value of these cars when they go to auction, significantly reducing the amount the victim could recover. The same process will apply to the clothes, jewelry, watches, and designer glasses that Malone purchased. These luxury items are likely to be seized by authorities and auctioned off as part of the asset recovery process. High-end watches, such as his Richard Mille pieces, are particularly valuable and could bring in significant amounts at auction, while designer clothes typically depreciate in value. Malone's expensive pieces will still hold enough worth to help recover the funds for the victim. As for the wallet spending in clubs, that money is pretty much gone. When you blow $500,000 in a single night on bottle services and VIP sections, the clubs aren't held responsible for giving it back, especially if they had no clue the money was stolen. Same goes for the private jets. Those jet companies provided a legitimate service, so the money Malone spent on his flights is long gone. In conclusion, while most of the big ticket items can be seized and auctioned, much of what Malone spent on services like clubs and private jets is lost for good. This story isn't just about a major heist or the luxurious lifestyle Malone enjoyed for a brief moment. It's a lesson in greed, the dangerous.
Bro, I'm telling you, he got himself caught. He knew someone that wealth would find him, so he accelerated whole thing, sent somewhere, and when he comes out, he'd still be a millionaire. Well, 20 years possibly in prison. Let me just close the door. Hold on. I'll just go pee. Just wait. Oops. Okay. He will probably be on best behavior and will get out in a few years. People say he's done an FBI deal and he'll work with them. Gambler, do you know Malone? Haha.
For showing off wealth that wasn't earned, and how quickly everything can come crashing down. Despite all the money spent, the nights out, and the flashy purchases, Malone's dream life was built on stolen funds, and it was only a matter of time before it fell apart. Authorities might recover some of the stolen money, but the damage done to the victim and the recklessness of Malone's spending spree are a reminder of how easily things can slip away. For Malone and his friends, what started as a wild ride of life snatch ended in arrests and their names tied to one of the biggest crypto crimes in history. In the end, these high sources that no matter how clever the crime or how big the payout, the law always catches up, and the price they paid was far greater than the short-lived luxury they enjoyed. Oh, by the way, remember Olivia, the model who got a Birkin bag? Yeah, she made a TikTok after Malone's arrest selling the Birkin with a police uniform. And also another TikTok in the same club saying, no free bags tonight, just free drinks. TikTok in the same club saying, no free bags tonight, just free. Hey, remember Olivia, the model who got a Birkin bag? Yeah, she made a TikTok after Malone's arrest selling the Birkin with a police.
She's got ass too. Had to look. Alright, let's do creating art is sacred. How to become a creator monk. I'm in the crypto industry, so I know most stuff that occur. Are you a crypto scammer? Bro, finna trying to sell us NFTs? Of course not. How to become a creator monk.
In the middle of the 20th century, the Trappist monk Thomas Merton retreated to a hermitage in the woods of Kentucky to write. He believed silence was necessary for clarity, and clarity was necessary for truth. He refused television, turned down speaking engagements, and gradually reduced his correspondence to almost nothing. His monasticism was not only spiritual, it was also a logistical operating system designed to produce deep, coherent thought. Around the same time, Norbert Wiener was inventing cybernetics, John von Neumann was building models for self-replicating automata, and Claude Shannon was outlining information theory. They saw noise differently, as a feature to be managed, compressed, monetized. The modern information economy was being born while Merton was choosing silence. Each represented a different theory of communication and, if you'll allow a little license, a different theory of the self. The creator-monk path lives somewhere in between. It rejects the maximalism of scale, but it doesn't quite retreat from public life. It favors solitude, but with an internet connection. It is not anti-growth, but it is growth constrained by design, as if the point was to avoid turning a mind into a brand. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, as I refocus and try.
You think Malone clipped Sky? Come on, he at least had to do that. Good question. What is clipped Sky?
Try to lock in on a few things. There are creators who want to build empires, and there are creators who want to build bodies of work. And the distinction is clearer than it used to be. A decade ago, there was less pressure to choose. You could be an essayist with a blog and grow slowly, somewhere between hobby and hustle. Now to make content is to be immediately, inescapably content-driven. Algorithms do not reward moderation. Audiences do not incentivize restraint. The creator monk says, no YouTube funnel, no CRM.
Don't search up, haha, okay.
No growth hacks, no brand partnerships. They write essays that take 3 months. They build tools for 100 users instead of 100,000. And they live intentionally at the subscale. This isn't virtue necessarily, it's a sort of architecture. The costs of scale are real. You must divide your focus across more channels, more formats, more team members. The cognitive load increases linearly, but the marginal gain.
Oh. The Sky, it means hooking up, and Sky is the porn name of that woman. Yo, hope everyone is doing well. Yo, March. Hooking up. Oh, okay, clipped. Clipped means hooking up. I'm learning Gen Z, or is it Alpha? No, it can't be Alpha slang, right? It must be Gen Z slang. Clipped. Sky is the porn name of that woman. Oh, I didn't know she was a porn star. Clipped. Clipped. I'll try to remember that. Probably comes in handy if I memorize that.
Plateau. At some point, you stop.
This Westenberg dude is interesting a lot. I know, right? I found him recently. His video essays are really good, especially depending on the topic. Really, really good.
Creating.
I watched some of his most resonating videos so far. Yeah, you should definitely check out this Westenberg guy, his channel. Some videos will really resonate with you, I'm sure.
And you start managing. Software startups face the same dilemma. Basecamp's founders famously turned down VC money and capped headcount. They wanted to stay small on purpose, not to signal humility, but to preserve sovereignty. They understood that the minute you optimize for scale, you subordinate every other variable to it. Product quality, user intimacy, personal time, they all get compressed in the gears. The creator monk optimizes for something else. Continuity. They want a life that produces output without needing to multiply input.
Bro, Finna clip whole of Canada. What's Finna? I don't know what Finna. What is Finna? Teacock, I don't know about that. He tried hooking up with Sky. Is she an actor? Finna. I thought it was typo of Trina, but no, I guess Finna is a different thing. I'm learning new language, learning new words, guys. Thanks for teaching me. If you tell me what Finna is, I'll know that one too.
A life that does not need to scale to be valid. There is a risk here. The creator monk can become performance. You start posting screenshots of your minimalist iPhone and you talk too loudly about not being on Twitter. The monk can become an influencer of austerity. But posturing aside, there is a deeper instinct. That truth or craft or beauty requires distance. The Romantic poets knew it, and so did Emily Dickinson. She wrote nearly 1,800 poems in almost complete seclusion, and she published only 10 in her lifetime. Her reward was not platform growth. It was fidelity to language. Withdrawal itself is not Luddism, it is selective filtration. To build a life that doesn't scale is to place a higher value on signal than reach. It is to treat attention like a finite substance, not a currency or a mineral to be mined. And this runs counter to every logic of the current media economy. Creators are told to be...
Oh, it's like gonna or going to. Ah, Finna. Finna, gonna clip whole of Canada. Okay. She's an actor, in fact. Search up Sky Bree. Okay. Finna. Finna. Thanks, March.
be everywhere, to repurpose everything, to lean into virality, segment their audience, productize their knowledge. The idea that you would instead slow down, write less, share sparingly, it sounds suicidal, and it is, if the goal is financial maximalism. But if the goal is sustained creation, the trade becomes rational. What happens when output is separated from scale? You get productivity that is neither invisible nor performative. It is not the frantic hustle of the content entrepreneur, but it is not the obscurity of the hobbyist either. One example is the independent software developer who builds tiny tools. They write in public, often on blogs or forums that predate social media. Their code serves a niche, and their income supports their time. They are not famous, but they are free. Another is the small newsletter writer who maintains a tight list of 500 paying subscribers. They are not trying to go viral. They are trying to say something difficult, clearly, over time. I think these lives are harder to envy because they're harder to see. But that's part of the appeal. They resist the visual grammar of success. They replace it with a standard. Consistency, sharpness, and alignment between work and worldview. There is a line in Seneca, if you wish to be loved, love. There is another line, less quoted, withdraw into yourself as far as you can. The Stoics were full of this tension, engagement versus isolation, action versus contemplation, a complexity rarely found in Stoic Reddit threads. The creator-monk path resolves it by changing the unit of measure. It assumes that the highest leverage is not in reach, but in depth, that one deeply engaged mind, changed by a piece of work, is more valuable than 10,000 passive impressions. This is in some ways a return to...
Damn, that sentence was really good. Okay, let's watch that
impressions. This is in some ways a return to pre-industrial valuable, but in depth, that changing the unit of measure. It assumes that the highest leverage is not in reach, but in depth, that one deeply engaged mind
One deeply engaged mind
changed by a piece of work is more valuable.
Changed by a piece of work is more valuable than
10,000 passive impressions.
10,000 passive impressions. Yo, that's so true. One deeply engaged mind, changed by a piece of work, is more valuable than 10,000 passive impressions. Damn. That really hits home. Gambler, what do you do in crypto industry? Invest long term, to be honest. Meme coins are a whole rug pull. He sounds incredibly educated. I like the way he speaks. It's written out essays and he's reading it out. So he's a good writer. He's great at writing these sentences that are easy to follow and yet hold a lot of depth to it.
This is in some ways a return to pre-industrial ideas of authorship. Writers wrote for patrons or for God, musicians composed for a court, and the relationship was personal, not programmatic. Distribution by a piece of work is more valuable than 10,000 passive impressions. This is in some ways a return to pre-industrial ideas of authorship. Writers wrote for patrons or for God, musicians composed for a court, and the relationship was personal, not programmatic. Distribution was slow, but understanding was durable. Now everything is fast, and that speed can be corrosive to judgment. The creator monk does not fight speed by yelling at it. They simply
Oh, haha, I thought he was some future Oxford professor.
decline to operate on its frequency. This path is not morally superior. It's not necessarily healthier. In fact, it can be isolating, financially risky, even psychologically destabilizing. It's easy to romanticize solitude until it starts to feel like erasure. But that's the point, isn't it? The choice to build a life that doesn't scale is not a moral claim. It's a structural trade-off. You get depth, but you lose reach. You get autonomy, but you forfeit volume. You get clarity, but you lose applause. Some people shouldn't take the trade. They thrive in audience-rich environments. They need feedback, fast iteration, the energy of growth. Others find that the cost of exposure is too high. They want the silence of Merton, the precision of Dickinson, the sovereignty of Basecamp. And it is hard to tell which one you are. You only find out by testing the system, and then by listening to what comes back, not in likes or in shares, but in your own input. Are you making what you wanted to make? There is an alternative theory of success, neither blitzscale nor regrowth. just a long, slow unfolding of competence. One tool, one essay, one idea at a time. And I don't think it looks impressive. It doesn't sound like a pitch deck, but it works. If your definition of working includes sleeping well, making clear things, and becoming, slowly, wiser. It is, I would say, a humble path, but not a passive one. In a world where everything is being sucked into the machinery of scale, choosing not to scale is one of the few rebellions that doesn't actually require someone else's permission. You just start, you go quiet, and you build.
You just start, you go quiet, and you build. Damn. I realized a while ago that almost all my favorite artists follow a similar pattern. Long periods in between the release of work, few interviews, and very little social media presence. Essentially a willingness to retreat from constant public view in order to find some depth. They're not hermits per se. They happily appear in public when they have something new to share, but the attention itself is clearly not the point. I know that I should follow a similar pattern. I feel called to it. The thing that stops me is an intense feeling of loneliness. I want to be the person who can retreat, but social media has trained my mind to want near constant connection, so it's hard to walk away from that. Paul, you rather be rich or an artist who no one knows, but they themselves know their work is great? You just start, you go quiet, and you go build is genuinely inspiring. Yeah, that quote is great. You just start, you go quiet, and you go build. That's great. Yeah. Would I be rich or an artist who knows no one knows? If it depends on how extreme the example is. If no one knows, and even if my work is great, if no one knows, then probably better to be rich. But if some people know and love it, then I guess that might be more worth it. Yeah, it's hard to say. Great.
What does this book, and all these books about creativity have in common? Well, it all has something to do with this book right here.
Like Da Vinci, no one knew about him. Right, because he just worked in silence. Yeah. The thing is, Da Vinci was not poor. He was sponsored by people who were paying him to do whatever he wanted to do. So if that's... Da Vinci was very well known. Yeah. Da Vinci was sponsored by... Was it Medici family? And among others. And so he wasn't begging on the streets or anything like that. So if that's a life where you're not rich, but you have enough to create whatever you want, that's the life I would choose.
This is my parents' Bible. It's older than me, and technically, it's older than all of us. But last week, I noticed something interesting.
He kind of was, but he blew up after he died.
It all started when I gathered all my notes on creativity, and I took them and I compared them all with sacred texts and ancient philosophies and spiritual traditions from around the world. I was looking for patterns, and what I discovered completely shocked me. Every major spiritual tradition on earth speaks about creativity as something sacred, something divine. Not as a skill you develop or a talent you're born with, but as a direct connection to the source of all existence. In Genesis, the very first thing we learn about the divine is that it creates. In the beginning, God created. The ancient Hindu text, the Vedas, speaks of Brahma, the creator aspect of the divine, whose very breath becomes the universe. The Tao Te Ching, a foundational text of Chinese Taoism, opens with, the Tao that can be spoken is not becomes the universe. The Tao Te Ching.
He was pretty well respected in his industry, and people knew of him not as much as now, of course.
A foundational text of Chinese Taoism opens with, the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, describing the creative force that gives birth to all things. Buddhism teaches that Buddha nature, the divine essence within everyone, expresses itself through creative manifestation. Every tradition is saying the same thing. Creation isn't just what the divine does. Creation is a divine act. Which means that...
Yeah, true.
When you're creating, you're not just making art, you're participating in the fundamental force of existence itself, and that's sacred. Real quick, I've collected all my notes on creativity over the past few years, and this isn't about belief. This is about something much deeper. When I say creativity is sacred, I'm not saying it is religiously sacred. I'm not saying it's mystically sacred. I'm just saying that it feels sacred. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist, atheist or agnostic. When we create, we all feel it. Creativity is the universal language that transcends every boundary that we've built. I saw this phenomenon in all my notes in my books. The creative act says that art is our portal to the unseen world. Create or Die says that when someone says that you have a creative spirit, they're acknowledging the very spiritual nature of creativity. The Artist Way, it says that art is an act of faith because artists are visionaries who move toward a goal that's often visible to us but invisible to the world around us. And Keep Going says that art is a spiritual exercise that can make your soul grow. Think about it. When you listen to music from a culture completely different from yours, you still feel something. When you see art from across the world, from across centuries, it still moves you. That's because creativity bypasses belief systems entirely. It speaks directly to what we share. Harvard researchers confirmed that every known human culture has made music, and that people can even recognize emotions in songs from cultures they never encountered. This is why art has always been humanity's bridge across divides. Music brought down the Berlin Wall. Poetry sparked revolutions. Dance connects strangers. Stories makes enemies remember they're human. Creativity is proof that beneath all of our differences, religious, cultural, political,
Paul, gotta ask a question. Why do you watch these videos? Are you yourself trying to become more creative? I'm watching it because a previous video they made really spoke to me. And even if this video is not really speaking to me now, I'm giving it a shot because I really liked one of their previous videos. But yeah, this is nowhere near as good as his previous video that got me hooked on him. Get Scrappy, why raw beats perfect. Let's love this. Let's watch.
The longer I spend online, the more allergic I become to gloss. The cinematic drone intros and the animated logos and the overlit studio setups with buttery depth of field lenses and the squeaky clean audio tracks. All of it feels like a trap. Polish is no longer a marker of effort. It's just that...
Do you like history? When it's told well, yes. It depends on the story and the storyteller, but history can be fascinating for sure, depending on those two things.
Default setting. A decade ago, producing content that looked professional took a degree of skill. You needed gear, editing chops, and tolerance for endless rendering. Now, AI tools let anyone produce studio-level output in a few clicks. Captions are generated, lighting is corrected, even speech can be fixed, rewritten, revoiced. Which is why I've stopped optimizing. I film on a webcam, I talk to the camera, I write like I think and hit publish before I lose interest. No transitions, no soundtrack, no brand palette, just ideas in motion. Slick is standard now, and scrappy is subversive. When everyone's a brand, the unbranded gets...
Am I tripping or is someone shouting? My mom's watching a movie. Yeah, the movie's really loud downstairs. That's why you can hear it.
Noticed. Watch any popular YouTuber's early uploads and compare them to their latest ones. The shift is dramatic. Where there used to be cluttered bedrooms and jumpy handhelds, now there's script writing, production design, and color grading. It all looks very impressive, but it also looks like everything else. There was a particular energy in early YouTube videos. Casey Neistat's chaotic NYC vlogs, CGP Grey's rough animations, PewDiePie in a corner with a broken mic. They were messy, but they were direct, and you felt like someone was reaching through the screen to talk. They weren't performing. Now the dominant tone is presentation. Every word is planned and every frame is curated. But overproduced content becomes sterile, and it starts to resemble itself more than it resembles life. It's not limited to video. Writers too have succumbed. Blogs read like they were optimized by a marketing team. Substacks are indistinguishable from institutional newsletters. The literary voice is being erased in favor of one that sounds very clean, very consistent, and very forgettable. Because everyone sounds like they're selling something. I think, and I believe, that in a crowded timeline, rawness can be a flair. A blurry video says this mattered enough to make even without time to perfect it. A blog post that doesn't always know where it wants to go says this came from a human hand. And a meandering thought trail that circles itself can still illuminate something that a tight edited summary can't. Not all raw content is good, but when the baseline is machine smooth, texture becomes its own form of authenticity, and it suggests urgency, investment, and risk. Polished content is buffered. Scrappy work still has edges. It can scrape up against something. Why do people still value the glitch, the flaw, the noise? Because those things are hard to fake. They cost control, and they expose. A voice crack in a podcast, a stumble in a speech, a missed cue in a live stream. These are not faults. They are evidentiary. They say this was real, this was one take, and this wasn't polished into oblivion. Nietzsche wrote that chaos gives birth to stars, but chaos doesn't need to be metaphorical. Sometimes the literal chaos of your process, the dropped line and the cut-off thought and the wrong lighting, is what breathes life in.
Makes me think he uses the way he's talking about his video making and uploading process. It sounds like he just uses like a tool like Recut, which cuts out the pauses, and he doesn't even delete any of the mistakes, and he just uploads the cut footage like immediately, without any editing other than the automated pause cutting feature. So yeah, so it's not a mistake. He's doing the retakes and all the extra footage on purpose.
Into the thing. Punk worked because it wasn't afraid to sound broken. Zines weren't edited by committees. The beat poets didn't wait for feedback. Soviet samizdat spread because it could be written in the margins of a schoolbook, and roughness was a feature, not a limitation. When every tool in the world can sand down your voice into compliance, choosing not to is a kind of assertion. It's not rejecting tools or even rejecting AI. I'm not a member of the anti-GPT crusade, but I think you have to choose what kind of trace you want to leave behind. The avant-garde has always embraced the non-polished. Look at early Godard with his cuts and disjointed scenes, or Warhol's screen tests, unblinking, boring, beautiful in their refusal to be efficient. Even Beckett, who once said the purpose of writing is to fail better, wrote plays where characters sputter and repeat themselves deliberately. AI is creating a flood of plausible content. Articles that sound professional and voices that sound sincere. There are videos that mimic eye contact and emotional cadence, and everything looks clean. But none of it feels urgent. So much, not all, but so much AI-generated work feels like it was made to be shown, not made to be felt. And it reads like a quarterly report or an onboarding script. It isn't wrong, it isn't necessarily flawed, it's empty. Which is why I find myself drawn to the stuff that looks a little rushed, that feels like it barely made it onto the page, that doesn't open with a hook or close with a CTA. People don't make perfect things. They make weird things, with holes and with detours and with a pulse. We know when something's been through too many hands. We can sense when a voice has been softened by too much polish, when the sharp parts have been rounded off. The result is something that passes but doesn't stick. It's all Disney all the way down. There's a scene in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance about gumption trap.
I find AI quite helpful. It definitely is. And he's not saying it isn't. He's just talking about content made by AI, not how helpful it is to us personally with personal chats. It is super helpful, man. AI is super helpful. Not just quite. It is ridiculously helpful.
Invisible forces that pull you away from doing the thing. They're described like spiritual potholes. AI eliminates them, or tries to. But gumption traps are often the moments where work reveals itself. A video with a cut-off ending might feel incomplete, but it was completed. A paragraph with a broken metaphor might still land with someone, and a diagram sketched on paper might communicate more than a rendered 3D asset ever could. I don't think scrappy has to mean amateur. It means immediate. It means someone chose to publish instead of tinkering. Even in software, there's a long tradition of this. Paul Graham used to write about how great hackers love ugly code, not because it's inefficient, but because it prioritizes function over form. And the same applies to content. Sometimes it's the ugly work that does the job. And this is why film grain mattered. You could see the material, and it told you that there was film behind the image, there was light, and there was a hand. Digital erased that, and AI vaporized even more. But people still crave the grain. They download filters to simulate it. They shoot on old cameras to capture it. They handwrite notes for emphasis. Why? Because it proves there was friction, and friction is how we know something happened. Look at the resurgence of physical media, vinyl records, print books, handmade journals. People want to hold what they consume. Even in digital work, you can simulate the grain. In pacing, tone, structure, you can choose not to remove every stumble. Slickness now reads as default, and imperfection stands out. You can still polish. There are times when it helps. But when every feed is a showroom, the things that look like workshops get attention. Scrappy isn't lack, it's presence. The internet is full of frictionless simulation, and presence is what we keep searching for. Not everyone will value it. That's fine. Scrappy work isn't optimized for the masses. It's a flare and a signal. A way of saying, this thing I made wasn't filtered to death. It came from a real place. And when everything feels machine-touched, the imperfect human trace is the rarest style left.
Love this video. Love this video. Love this video along with a few others of yours. I'm glad I subbed. Karmic wheel, flywheel of my life. The moment I realized I was living a lie. Let's.
So as you probably would have guessed already, I'm definitely going through some sort of transition phase in my life right now, and I don't feel like who I used to be anymore. I'm not the same person as I was last year. I'm not the same person as I was 5 years ago, and
Great videos are ones who talk about overthinking.
obviously that sounds, cliche, but it's very apparent to me right now because of this awareness that I'm having. Because I would say that for about, right now I'm 25 years old, soon gonna be 26 actually. I would say that for the majority of my life, for the majority of 24 years of my life, I've been relatively mostly the same person. Yeah, sure, evolving just a little bit, but I think the shift from 24 to 25 has been really...
Okay, he's talking about his awareness, about the broken system. Too many choices, not enough peace. Let's see this.
Hey guys, it's Ray. How's it going? Today I'm gonna...
I feel bad for this dude. Yeah, definitely a sorry sight to see.
talk about dream and why, meaning of life. I think recently in developed country, maybe kids have dream, like like in Japan, they're saying, I'm gonna be baseball player, or I'm gonna be a doctor, things like that. But like it's very rare situation. This is the first time like human faces that kind of phase. I don't know, like a few hundred years ago, we're just struggling to survive, just live. Like, there's no clean water or that kind of thing. Like making food is really hard, I guess. It's harder than nowadays, obviously. And and I don't know much about other countries, but in Japan, like Edo era, like people just born and then they just do what their parents do, like job. So like generally they don't have to think what's their dream, or they don't have to choose. They couldn't choose their career, but they don't have to choose their career, right? But nowadays, ordinary people, they people have to choose their career, right? And I think it's great. It's very it's freedom, right? But sometimes that situation is tough for many people, I think. Like like people who are ambitious, or people who are really smart, they they want to choose their dreams, or their they find some really difficult theory, or you know what I mean. But I don't know, like, well, like they're really good at some sports or things like that. Like people who have talent, special talent. But most people, including me, don't have that kind of special skill. And especially I think Japan, they prefer, many people prefer just follow the rules.
I left a comment. I haven't watched YouTube in a while, and now I'm binging all your videos, Ray.
And if people like people said, okay, you can do whatever you want, I think Japanese people confuse. And yeah. Anyway, I mean, yeah, like I think it's really difficult situation. Like, yeah, like I don't know. I'm not sure which is great or not. Like, you know, if people choose their career or not. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Of course, the people who lived that situation, there's no freedom. Yeah, many people might think, what you know, we can choose our career. That's amazing. Maybe they might think that, but look at the people like in the train in Japan. They're so tired, and young people, they don't have like energy, like there's no hope for Japanese future. Yeah, it's people can choose their career, but
what the hell is? Why is this bike back? What the hell? Oh, it's not a bike. Damn loud car.
I don't know. And yeah, in Tokyo especially, people suicide, and I mean,
sometimes the most engaging bit of his videos is when he's just thinking and blinking and looking away. That's sometimes the most engaging part of the video.
Yeah. Yeah, but don't get me wrong. We are in really really great era of like human. Like technology or is really 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 great, and yeah, like food. We like just living is really easy, like easier than before, right? We don't have to yeah, like there's faucet and then there's water. We don't have to walk long distance to get clean water. We don't have to do that, right? And then yeah, there's convenience stores around in walk distance. And
Lamau, that's locked in mode.
I don't know which situation is good for human. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.
Let's see. I don't like this title, but
Hello guys, how are you? As you know, I'm not professional YouTuber and I'm not very successful businessman. I'm not kind of billionaire. But I want to share something today. It can be a good lesson to someone maybe. And if you just want just some killing time video, please watch. And if you like, subscribe me. If you like, give me a comment, please. 8 years ago, I started my business. Just with $100. Then my maximum revenue in just one day was more than $20,000. Yeah. My first business is translation business, and what I did with the $100 website, I designed all and name card, and I bought the domain.
Unbearable lightness of cringe.
There is a specific genre of embarrassment that afflicts the internet native, and you know it if you've ever hovered over the tweet button and then deleted everything because it sounded try hard. You know it if you've killed a draft blog post because you worried someone smarter would roll their eyes. And you know it if you've ever decided against recording a podcast, making a video, or publishing a newsletter because you imagined what your worst, most cynical mutual would say. It's a vicious, small-minded, creeping fear, and its name is cringe. We inherit it, mostly unconsciously. The modern self exists in a constant hall of mirrors. Every social platform is a performative layer. Every status update is a stage cue. And because we've spent the last decade learning how to curate, cultivate, and broadcast a persona, we've absorbed the idea that any deviation from optimized performance is dangerous. We have trained ourselves to be allergic to earnestness. But before we go any further, a detour through Paris. In 1863, Charles Baudelaire wrote an essay titled The Painter of Modern Life. In it, he described the figure of what would later be known as the flaneur, a detached urban observer who drifts through the city both participant and spectator, drinking in its chaos and performing a kind of aestheticized detachment. The flaneur was ironic. He was knowing, he saw, and he judged. Online culture today rewards the flaneur and punishes the romantic. Online culture today rewards the flaneur and punishes the romantic. You may wander the digital avenues, but only as long as you maintain the correct posture. Too sincere? Cringe. Too ambitious? Cringe. Too emotionally involved in your own creation? Cringe. There is a definite cruelty embedded in this. The fear of cringe is really the fear of visibility. It is the fear of being caught wanting something. And that fear, if you let it metastasize, turns corrosive. You begin to live in ironic distance from your own life. Cringe has actually become a way to control expression. The term itself is rarely used to describe harm or even failure. It's used to enforce norms, usually by the smug against the sincere. You write a LinkedIn post with a little too much emotion. Cringe. You launch a product and celebrate like you just landed on the moon. Cringe. You make a YouTube video explaining something you just learned. Cringe. But who benefits from this enforcement? The professional class of internet lurkers, the cynical middle class of the commentariat, the people who don't build anything themselves but ensure you feel the maximum possible self-doubt when you try. There is something almost religious in the structure of this judgment. It recalls Calvinist anxieties. You are being watched, you are always watched. Consider the early blog posts of Paul Graham, or the clunky overlong essays of David Foster Wallace, or the meandering riffs of early Reddit. All of them are, by the standards of modern TikTok-trained audiences, unbearably cringe. Too long, too indulgent, too earnest, too weird. But they worked, because they were real. A truth, widely known, that most people won't say out loud. Your worst tweet is still better than your best internal monologue. Your rough draft is more useful than your perfect idea, and your awkward podcast episode reaches more people than the one you never record. Once you understand that, you stop filtering yourself through the imagined judgments of people who don't matter. This is not an argument for being sloppy, lazy, or performatively vulnerable, but it is a call to embrace the full stack of your interests, your obsessions, your failures, your corny jokes, your outdated references, and your messy attempts to say something true. The only alternative is silence. I think cringe is almost the price of admission. Every great subculture, creative movement, or intellectual revolution begins with a moment of cringe. The Impressionists were mocked, the Surrealists were ridiculed, the punk kids in the 70s looked absurd, the first YouTubers were cringe factories, and yet all of them made something that outlived their embarrassment. Why? Because they didn't flinch. Cringe, then, is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you are alive, and that you are no longer playing the consensus game, that you are touching the edge of the real. Every person who has done something worthwhile has paid the cringe tax. They got up on stage before they were ready. They posted before they had an audience, and they tried. There's a monastic purity in letting go of cringe. It means becoming legible to yourself again. It means posting what you want, even when it's unoptimized. It means refusing to posture for the ghost of... There's a monastic purity in letting go of cringe. It means becoming legible to yourself again. It means posting what you want, even when it's unoptimized.
It means posting what you want, even if it's unoptimized.
It means refusing to posture for the
Very relatable, this vid. Yeah.
ghost of a mean girl that lives in the back of your mind. There's a test you can run. Would you still say it if no one liked it? Would you still make it if it went ignored? Would you still be proud of it if it never worked in any algorithmic sense? If the answer is yes, you've probably found something real. To the founders launching ugly first versions, to the writers publishing awkward essays, to the weird kids on TikTok with 8 followers and too much eyeliner, to the developers releasing version 0.1 of something that might one day matter, ignore the cringe cops. They don't build, they don't launch, they don't believe, and you don't owe them a single frame of your attention. Let go, let it be cringe, let it be real, because the worst thing you can be isn't cringe, it's silent.
Nice. This one was pretty good. What does a good day even mean? That one's pretty good. School in 2025 is actually insane. Okay.
If you ever sat in class thinking, why does school feel like a prison with Wi-Fi? If you did everything they told you, got the grades, got the degree, followed the path, and still feel lost? If you ever felt in some way that something's wrong with you because school didn't work out, I just want to say that maybe you're not broken. Maybe the system is. We were sold a lie, that if we listened to everything they told us, we'd be rewarded. Success, purpose, a stable, fulfilling job, the ability to buy a house, start a family, build a real legacy for yourself beyond your LinkedIn profile. And instead, what we got was a whole lot of debt, confusion, anxiety, and an entire generation waking up and asking themselves, what was the point of all this? What was the point of memorizing all those dates in history class, learning that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell,
I remember
spending
that.
hours in lecture halls just to use Chegg for your homework assignments and ChatGPT for projects? What was the point of all that? I'm just gonna make one thing clear from the start, because there's gonna be some dumbasses out there saying like, oh, you're just mad because you failed the system, you weren't a good student. If you guys have been watching my videos for a while, you'll obviously know, but for those who haven't, I'm not just some guy talking about the education system like I read a few edgy tweets in a documentary once on YouTube. I've lived the whole thing myself. I went to the #1 ranked public high school in the country at the time. The kind of school where they don't just want you to succeed, you need to excel. I took all the AP and IB classes that I possibly could. I got a 1590 on the SAT. You can look it up online. I was a presidential scholar candidate, national merit finalist, did well on math competitions. Just all those superficial accomplishments that you can think of. I had it all. Then I went to the University of Michigan, the #1 public school in America. If you guys think it's Berkeley or UCLA, you can argue in the comments, but I studied physics. I graduated with that degree, even though it wasn't without certain difficulties that I've talked about in my previous videos. If you haven't seen those yet.
Get to know me Q&A. Let's see.
Well, hello everyone, welcome to a brand new video, and today is a very interesting video because today is going to be the Q&A video, and I'm mainly doing this because I somehow just hit 10,000 subscribers. Like, thank you. I'm grateful, but at the same time, this is not something that it's something that I'm very like weirded out by, if I'm being honest. And the main reason for that is because, you know, like when people think about YouTubers, they think about, you know, doing something you love, doing something you're passionate about, you're interested in, your hobbies or something, and, you know, they blow up through that, which is something that I did before. I had another channel where it was mostly focused on my hobbies and passions, you know, music and movies, and it never really blew up. And then now, suddenly, like 6 months ago, I turn on the camera, talk about life the way it is, and suddenly I blow up for this. It's weird, like, thank you, but at the same time, like, it's really weird and strange. Yeah, let's jump in straight to the Q&A, and I'll start answering some questions. So the first question by R_Black_X. With this awareness, how do you honestly think you'll get through the rest of your life? Do you see yourself possibly ending things one day, or will you just let the natural order play out? That would mean suffering for decades and decades into old age. Personally, I don't have it in me to end things. The pain of the dying process scares me, and I don't want to permanently be permanently damaged, disabled from a failed attempt. Can't help but feel jealous when I hear about successful ones, though. This is something that I've kind of talked about on this channel before. Yes, I have had thoughts of that, but I don't think I'm in that place right now. I think right now I'm in a phase where I'm kind of just accepting you know, where I am. You know, I'm not angry at the fact that, oh, I don't have a job, or I don't have that many friends, I'm not popular, or whatever. I'm not angry. I'm not screaming at the world about these things. I'm just accepting this is who I am right now, and, you know, I'm accepting
I'm trying to survive within this world with whatever is given to me, whatever way I can to remain.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear. That was what I was suspecting, and he's not suicidal, even if he was at times in the past, and I'm glad to hear that he's doing better mentally, emotionally, compared to many videos ago when he was talking about that.
Being authentic and be my true self. Yes, it's hard. You know, I still have thoughts about, you know, how hopeless I am about this world and the future, but I don't think ending things is worth it to me anyway. It's like, yeah, sure, things suck, and yes, it would be peaceful if I did not exist, but at the same time, while I'm here, might as well just live it out. And of course, like you said in the comment, ending things could, you know, possibly end up making you disabled, and if you survive, and that's worse, actually. Like, that would be a much more worse outcome. But yeah, I say just, for me personally, I say just live it out, and accept things where you are now, in this present time, even though it sucks. And yeah, we just gotta find ways to keep moving forward. I think that's the best thing that we can do. And yeah, Don, the Jamaican, asks, what do you think needs to happen for people to have a purpose in life? Purpose. Now, you're asking somebody who hasn't really found their purpose. But, you know, I don't, you know, when I was younger, you know, I always thought, you know, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, and then I'll be successful. You know, and I've moved past that phase now. It's just I'm not in that phase where, oh, I need to do this and then I'll be successful. And I think when you talk about purpose now, I think it's about the little things. You know, it could be just me playing the guitar, doing photography, you know, doing any of my hobbies and passions, going to see a movie that I'm excited to see or whatever. And, you know, I think right now I'm happy with, if I get to do all those things for the rest of my life, I'd be happy. But of course, we gotta work and earn money to enable for us to be able to do those hobbies. So that's another issue of its own that I've discussed multiple times on this channel. So Cassandras1435 asks, do you think if you grow this channel big enough, we can wake up enough people to stop supporting the system in this matrix and make it fall once and for all? Get enough people outraged to where we take a stand and not participate in the system at all, or retaliate using other means purposes? Yeah, I do wish that could happen, because, you know, things are going to shit. Like, you know, the rising cost of living, inflation, and I think what concerns me right now is how a lot of people view these things as normal. You know, rising cost of living, inflation, and no, it's clearly not normal. People that are awake, we know this.
Okay, what else? Tips. Why smart? Dumb. Oh, interesting. Am I alive 2 weeks ago? Oh, I like that title. It's okay to not want what you think you should want.
Hey, so first of all, for all my returning viewers, I just want to say that I am finally back. And I am alive, don't worry. You may be wondering why I've been gone for so long. So if you're a new viewer, you can also listen. I'm going to be going over some stuff I want to discuss. And hopefully you all understand where I'm coming from. Some of you guys might not get it, but basically, if you look at my upload for the past week, I haven't really posted a video for the last 10 days. I've also stayed quiet on my Discord server, and there's a very good reason for that. And the reason might not be the one you might be curious about, or the one you think. So you probably think maybe I was on a spiritual journey far away in the mountains. I became a monk, right? A Buddhist monk, meditating, and I pretty much disappeared. Or you might think I basically quit YouTube. Or you might think that I'm like super depressed and, you know, I'm pretty much on the urge of like not existing anymore, literally. But it's actually pretty straightforward and it's kind of crazy. So let's just take a step back, alright? Have you noticed that in our modern society right now, it's so hard to just vanish and just like escape from humans? And what I mean by that is that let's say you have family or people that, you know, recognize you, right? Or expect you to meet them or see them on a daily basis, right? Or even on a weekly basis. If you disappear without letting them know, they're gonna have some sense of anxiety. They're gonna be wondering, where the heck did you go? And it's kind of crazy how a lot of you aren't even my friends or family, right? You're just viewers, and if I'm gone for like a week or two without letting anyone know or staying absolutely silent, some of you are probably gonna go feeling a bit anxious about me, right? Worried about me. And I'm honestly grateful that some of you do care about my physical well-being and my mental well-being, but I'm here to just reassure you that I'm here, alive, and well. I am alive, indeed. Or am I? Really? Or are you all just living in a simulation? And honestly, it doesn't really get much deeper than that. I mean, I guess I can discuss why I've been gone.
Okay, so another Gen Zer, Zerif talking about simulation. Yeah, it does seem to be a common theme amongst Gen Z, including at least one person in this chat.
On for a week, like 10 days. I mean, that's a lot. For some of you, I'm sure, like some of you expect me to upload like every day or every 2 or 3 days, but for me, I'm gonna be honest, just want a bit of a break. I was burnt out from making videos every 2 to 3 days, sometimes every day. I mean, we all get burnt out, right? Doesn't matter how much we enjoy doing something. I just got burnt out. Just felt like I needed a break from YouTube and social media as well. You might have realized on my Discord server, I normally used to interact a lot with you guys, my returning viewers and my fans, but recently just feel like I need to just take a break, take a step back, take a breather from the Discord server because things are getting a bit hectic in there, and I just wanted some time for myself, right? Sure, some of you get it too. Sometimes you just want to be by yourself, so let anyone know. And this is just one of these moments where I just wanted to stay quiet. I just want to do what I wanted to do. So constantly trying to let people know, right? Like, it's not really, at the end of the day, it's my life, right? I know this might be very selfish for some of you, but hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. But with that out of the way, let's just talk into today's topic, right? Concept. Because I know it's been a while since I've talked about life in general, and I know some of you also do miss me talking about it. But before I ramble any further, let's just preface this by saying that today I'm going to be talking about something a bit more abstract. It's pretty much our human existence. Like, are we really alive? And these are some feelings I've also been feeling on my days off while I'm uploads. And one last thing I actually forgot to mention was just, I also spent a lot of quality time with my family. It was Canada Day on July 1st. That's why I also didn't really upload. I started going back to making videos on July 1st, but that's Canada Day. I live in Canada, so I wanted to spend some time. And it's kind of crazy how in our stone age, like I said, so hard to vanish, and we're so interconnected with the internet and social media, it's impossible, right? Like back in the day, you could literally be out in the woods for many days, nobody would know, right? No one would care. But nowadays, it's like, even after strangers start wondering where the heck I am. But anyways, I know I'm rambling, I'm just repeating myself.
Seems like a common theme. Yeah, Gen Z and the simulation theory is a common theme for sure, yeah.
Back to, I guess, supposedly human existence, or even living in the true nature of reality, right? We could be living in a simulation, but it's interesting how us humans, right, we just want to be happy at the end of the day. We just want to seek comfort. We don't really want to be stressed out. Nobody wants to be depressed. No one wants to feel nauseous. And it's unfortunate how, like, us humans, we tend to distract ourselves, right? We don't necessarily end up thinking constantly about death, even though it's very evident and it's not preventable, right? Death is something we humans all have to go through. It's really the only objective truth of our existence is that we're all going to wither and die one day, and what happens afterwards is up to our senses as humans to detect, right? And I feel like a lot of us overestimate our human ability to think rationally, right? Us humans, I feel like our brains have its given parameters and our thresholds, right? Like some of us can't magically think about things. Like there's some things we can think about that's out of our capabilities as human beings just because of the way our brain's structured. It's unfortunate how in our society a lot of people don't acknowledge death, right? We tend to distract and stay away from it, and we never really are given time to think about it intimately or acknowledge it, unless maybe we face a near-death experience. And yeah, it's unfortunate how life ourselves is all about distractions, right? All about consuming content online, and consuming products too, right? We're just keeping ourselves busy, keeping ourselves productive, optimizing our workflow, optimizing and min-maxing our life, which is a really stupid thing I find, and that's why I really want to just take a step back from YouTube videos, because I feel like a lot of times I just want to just reset my brain, and a lot of times, I don't know, a lot of people in the comments just end up telling me to min-max my life, telling me to get my crap together, but at the end of the day, it's my life, right? I choose how I live my life, even if it's not supposedly the most optimized way of living it, right? I understand there's a lot of flaws I have, but, you know, I'm not gonna die one day, right? Like, as long as I'm happy, right? As long as I'm doing okay on my own terms, right? It's interesting. Let me know what you think about it in the comment on how someone should live the ideal life. And another interesting thing I thought about is, like, am I really living, or am I just existing on Earth? I feel like a lot of people, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people just go on autopilot mode, especially people who just work, like, maybe blue-collar jobs. They just work, go home, consume, repeat, rinse and repeat, pay the bills, right? And it's almost like people just live on autopilot mode. And at that point, are you really just existing? Like, you're not really living life, you're just existing, right? As a human being, and just performing to society, and contributing to society as well. Seeing the GDP go up, right? In this capital society. Like, it's really unfortunate. And sometimes it just makes me feel like why I even took the break in the first place, due to the achievement society we live in, this meritocracy where...
Paul, what's your goal for your channel? Do you want to be like 50-year-old Japanese man video? I would say to earn enough from my channel and keep creating what I want.
Constantly, our achievements matter more than our well-being, right? Like, if you get a gold medal Olympics, people are going to praise you. See, a superhero. People want you to make 6 figures a year. People want to do anything for money, even if it means controlling others and manipulating others and just taking advantage of others, right? Like, we've seen so many people, I'm not going to tell specific names, but you know, those typical... Yeah, actually, I'm not going to talk about it just because I don't really want to just throw out names there because it doesn't really change anything, right? I mean, like, what's going to happen, right? They're going to get pissed. Like, but you know who those folks are, right? People who promote toxic positivity, people who just do things just to get people hooked into it. There's so many people, right? Like that. It's unfortunate how I feel like in our society we just end up reading narcissists. People just put themselves first, willing to step over others, just get a raise, right? At work, you have to play along this office politics. You have to deal with coworkers who just try to cover their ass, right? They try to cover their own mistakes by blaming it on someone else, blaming it on someone who's a lower position. You probably faced it. I faced it myself in my dang factory and other places I worked at, but it's really unfortunate. And going back to some abstract things I want to talk about, I just feel like a lot of times I just feel like there's always something lacking in me. Maybe that's why I'm feeling a sense of anxiety, a sense of nausea, a sense of despair. Maybe you felt it too sometimes, and a lot of times I just feel not very confident in my own ability. And I feel like
this feeling of lacking he has inside, I felt that thoroughly in my 20s. And to earn enough money from my channel and keep creating what I want, even if it's a minimum job wage. That's inspirational. I always admire people who could make videos on YouTube. I tried it once but got cold feet because I'm too nervous. I'm better off just watching, haha. Yeah, the nerves from posting online is real. It ain't for everyone. but for some it's worth pushing through that, and for others it's not.
Like, confidence is definitely something that you have to like slowly accept, right, for yourself. It's not something you can just immediately get, right? And I don't know, I just feel like sometimes I just feel like I lack essence of what it means to be a human being. I feel like a lot of times I just don't really feel content with myself, right? I know some of you say it's easy fix, just go to the gym, get back to school, and just like, you know, make bank, get a girlfriend. But it's not as straightforward as that, right? I feel like it's not, that route is not for everyone, especially getting a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or going to school, right? So many ways of living life. But I feel like I want to just live my life my way, right? And I know, it's gonna be, life is never easy, right? You have to work hard to get somewhere. And the issue is that sometimes when you work hard, you don't always reap the benefits of it. There's a lot of luck that goes into life as well. And for me personally, my luck has been pretty bad. Like, I've never really won anything massive, and I don't really encourage anyone to gamble, but sometimes I just wish I was more of a lucky person, right? I know plenty of people who are actually very lucky. And going back to life, I just feel like a lot of times I just end up feeling very disappointed when I aim for something, and I worked so hard for it, right? Like back when I tried to make a perfect portfolio when I was a graphic designer, right? And even all that, I still didn't end up getting a job I was satisfied with. And I feel like this high expectations leads to high disappointments. So sometimes I just feel like if you don't do anything, you're not going to be disappointed. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. When you take risks, you have the chance of doing something great, something that you feel accomplished, feeling happy about. But if you fail to do that, you just feel like all your efforts have been wasted. I know some of you might say, hey, that's the only way for you to grow, right? By making mistakes. But sometimes you have to understand that sometimes time is very precious, right? Imagine investing so much time into it and it doesn't work out at the end, right? It must be devastating. And that's why I sort of like appreciate music in a way. Like music is very therapeutic. Like I feel like music is sort of escape from reality, similar to video games I used to play, like MMORPGs, like Adventure Festivals, RuneScape. I feel like a lot of times I just listen to music at work, or just I go out for a walk. It just sort of makes me go back in time for a bit. Music kind of transcends time and makes me just think of what life could have been, right? It's just a nice getaway and sort of a gateway to a much better future for us.
The power of music is definitely real. He's touched upon it, and it's definitely good that he's accessing at least music to keep his life more jolly, cheerful, even, or less gloomy, less miserable. Yeah.
It's definitely was based in, right? And yeah, for the past week, honestly, I've also been thinking about AI. I know there's a lot of mixed opinion on it. Some people think AI is going to benefit society and humans because a lot of us don't really have to work anymore, right? But for me, I see that as a double-edged sword. A lot of us are going to lose jobs, but I don't want to discuss too much about it because I feel like a lot of it I'm not too educated on, so I don't think I really can discuss about it that in depth. But yeah, honestly, I just feel like humans just have the inherent desire to feel loved, right? To feel belong, and I still feel like that feeling's never going to go away, even if I take like a month break. Like I thought about it too. Like I thought about how I would feel different if I just took a 1 week break. But honestly, I feel like my stances on life didn't really change. I still feel the same way as I did 10 days ago, and you know, I'm still the same human being as I was. But sometimes I don't know. I just feel like I'm not really alive. I feel like I'm just trying to pick the best course of action every second of my life. Just that's ultimately determine my future. It feels like a bit tiring. And that's why I wanted to also take a break for a week, just because my mental was not stable. I was not getting enough sleep, and thankfully, when I took the break, when I didn't upload, I was actually getting at least 7 hours of sleep, right? I was even getting 8 or 9 hours of sleep some days, and trust me, it really makes a massive difference. If any of you are only getting like 6.5, 7 hours of sleep, I encourage you all to get at least 7.5, even 8 hours of sleep. It does make you feel a lot more, just makes you feel better, right? It's almost like injecting vitamin D into your body, right? If you drink milk, take multivitamin pills, you're gonna feel a lot more happy and positive about yourself. So going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm just
Yeah, sleep is really important. Sleeping 8-9 hours will drastically change your life, that's for sure.
frustrated with living in this modern society, right? When you can't really get away from humans. If you're gone for 10 days, like me, I haven't uploaded videos for 10 days. People are panicking. People are thinking it's the end of the world. People think I literally ended myself. It's kind of crazy, right? And also, like, it's unfortunate how so many people have this mindset that technology is going to help us humans, like, constantly, right? Like, they have this technological framing and framework of the world, right? We need to constantly optimize and manipulate others to get what we want, and we have to do it to get an efficient outcome, right? It's like, in this capitalist society, it's all about efficiency, it's all about being productive, it's all about manipulation, right? Market manipulation, seeing people as objects, seeing us as subjects, seeing us as main characters, seeing us as protagonists, seeing us as tools that can be leveraged to increase the GDP of our country, right? I know all this sounds very, like, crazy and absurd, but it actually does make sense, right? And I know so many people on my Discord server, I noticed, were just, like, want to min-max their life. A lot of people just want to gain muscle. They're feeling very not confident, so they want to actually get a crap together, great for them, but I feel like that's not the best way of living life. It's not really a definitive way of living life. And it's frustrating how some people think their worldview is objective way and objective truth for living life, right? Like, if you're not being constantly productive, if you're not min-maxing your potential, you're losing out. You're failing life. But how do you even define failing life, right? And I feel like when you aim high, when you just constantly grind, you're prone to burn out, right? At that point, you're just probably coping with, like, smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, drinking. It's like, does diminishing returns if you're, you know, trying to be hyper efficient every single second of your life, right? Us humans, we're not built to be machines. We have a certain threshold, right? We have our own breaking point. Some people can, sure, get away with 5 hours sleep, grinding, going to the gym, and reading textbooks 5 hours straight a day. But for me, as someone with ADHD, I find it really hard to focus on some things, right? Some of these things are just built inside my genes, right? Some things I can't control. And yeah, it's kind of crazy how some people see others as NPCs, right? And some people just involve their entire life based on a career. When you ask them who they are, they just say, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm an electrician, but they don't really know who they actually are as human beings, right? And at that point, are we even alive, or are we just putting on masks and just going along with our work persona 24/7? It's kind of crazy, right? People just base off their entire existence off their personal achievement, success, and making money, right? People would just low-key, passively brag about how much they make. And I hate people who just pretend that they're humble, but they're actually not, just low-key bragging, right? Probably know some of those folks. And, yeah.
I feel like the low-key bragging people he's talking about are mostly on social media. Maybe he does know some people in person, but good that he's taking a break from social media.
And I don't really understand people who just try to base off everything based off science, right? Try to break down everything down into physical matter, right? Certain things can't be reached with rationality. I feel like we tend to just overestimate our human thinking. Humans aren't exactly rational, right? A lot of us get heated over tiny things just because of our emotions, right? Some hurt our dignity, hurt our existence, hurt our feelings. We're just gonna be biased, right? It's kind of crazy. And yeah, just unfortunate how in our current modern society, it's really hard to escape on the feeling that we're so out of touch with what makes us human, right? It feels like a lot of us just end up sinking and living this very linear framework, right? We just want to live life a certain way, but we forget about how other people think, right? That's why so many people end up blending in with certain cults, right? Like political parties, right? Conservative, liberal, religion too, like Christian, Muslim, right? People want to feel belong. They end up forging and building their entire framework, building their existence and meaning of life off of pretty much one concept that is created by humans, right? It's like sometimes we don't think and go back to roots, right? We just see things as what they are, right? Some people might just tell me this is the way life is, or some people might think I'm overthinking. Some people might think I need to go fix my crap. Sure, you might make sense, but sometimes I just think we need to take a step back and just like not conform to society, not conform to culture, right? And sometimes it's okay to take breaks. I feel like in our society, people push others to be productive. People push others to be better themselves every single day. But sometimes it's okay to take a break. And it's crazy, unfortunate how I took a 10-day break, and some people end up getting worried. Like I appreciate some of you for being worried about me, but seriously, I just wanted to just take a break. But yeah, that's basically, I guess, my rant today. I know I didn't really discuss too deeply, but these are just certain concepts I want you all to think about. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, thank you for understanding. And yeah, honestly, I wish I did a better job of explaining my absence, but really, that's the bulk of it. I just wanted some time off, right? I thought 1 week was not enough. I needed more than a week. But yeah, that's basically it. Thanks for watching me just rant, rumble, and ramble. Anyways, peace.
Hey man, it's good to see you again. It's good to take a break. It helps a lot. You are alive, my friend. Good to see you back. Yeah, sometimes it's good to let people know that you're gonna take a break if you're gonna take a break from YouTube. Let's see
What is up, beautiful human? I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's been a minute since I've made a video. Hope you've been well. If you're a new sub here, last video gained a bit of traction. Just want to say, hey, feel free to chime in the comments if you ever feel like you'd like to. So today I want to talk about this last month, and then specifically something that happened yesterday that has really kind of shifted things for me a bit in a really good way. It has to do with mortality. I got into a car accident, and there's just some really weird synchronicities with that I'm really grateful for, and we'll talk about that. But the main theme that has been going on for me in this last month is not knowing what I want and learning to be okay with that. I think for me, it's really hard to sit with ambiguity, and I've gotten a lot comfortable with that. I've gotten comfortable with not doing as much. I think there's a whole journey you go on, especially if you've put your self-worth in the things you do, the things you create, right? All of that you have to kind of unwind and take a seat from. It's like, do you still have value if you're barely doing anything? Do you still have value if you're doing bare minimum and don't know what you want? It's like, well, yeah, I do, but you might not feel that way initially. But I think over this last month, I've got comfortable with that. And not to my surprise, right? It makes perfect sense. You get comfortable with these uncomfortable things, right? You release the resistance, and sure enough, it starts fading away. So I feel like I do know what I want. I feel bad, though. I have felt bad. So over this last month, I've been more social. I've been dating a bit. I even had someone in the past come back, and I've had these different moments asking myself what I want, or even people directly. And it's like, I want a relationship. I want that, but I don't really want that because it feels like a betrayal to myself right now. And not to say like I don't enjoy people's company, not to say that it couldn't potentially be a positive thing. It's just not right for me right now. And maybe it's a societal thing. Maybe it's like a female hormone thing, but there's such a, it's not that I'm like pushing away the idea of a relationship. I think we can grow a lot in relationships. Honestly, I think we grow differently in relationships. We get a mirror back for ourselves. I think I definitely want more social interaction. I've been more social lately, which has been great, but I don't really want all the baggage and commitment that comes with a relationship. And historically, I've been more monogamous. So it's really weird dating many people at a time. It's a weird thing to juggle in my head. And I feel, but different things are coming up for me that I've been trying to process. It's like, what is that? Like feeling obligated to, and I'm like, whoa, I don't want that anymore. So it has been helpful, but when I really sit with it, that's not really what I want right now. I want to, but I'm not, it's like that balance. It's like, I'm open to.
What? Oh my gosh, she surpassed me by a lot, 4.59k. Let's see. The one that blew up, she said, turns out your choices are making you. 6K. Wow, she exploded in sub count. Yeah, she's doing pretty well.
Do whatever the universe wants to show me and guide me through right now, but at the same time, I don't want something for the sake of wanting it. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone just because there's flow or chemistry, you know? Because all of that takes a lot of commitment and energy, and basically if we don't process certain things or if we don't follow our true desires, then it's always going to be this thing that's like, well, I'm here, but I wish I was, you know? So I've noticed a bit of that in myself. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But I have noticed I really want to create something, and that energy of wanting to create something, it comes up, and then at the same time, it's this weird thing. I feel like I self-sabotage this energy. So this energy to want to create something will come up, and then I'll get excited about maybe creating something, you know, doing something. But then secondary, this idea of connection comes up too. And then I usually focus that, and then I date, I do whatever. Usually these things are coming up when I'm single. And I think I've been misinterpreting it. I think the desire to create something is stronger, whether it's a community, whether it's a product, whether it's a service. You know what I mean? And the secondary thing that will come from that is community. I think what I've been doing is hushing and being maybe a bit insecure about me creating this thing, and then focusing on creating community, which will be the byproduct of this other thing that I create. At least that's where I'm at now. So I'm sitting with it. I don't know if that resonates with anyone, but it's been this weird loop I've been in for many years where I usually isolate or I become single for a long time. This desire to create something emerges, and then I basically don't do that. I date people, I get into a relationship, a year, 2 years, 2.5 years goes by, and I process the relationship, and then the energy to create comes back. I get inspired, but then I sabotage whatever I would create there, get into a relationship, yada, yada, yada. So I want to break that cycle, and something magical kind of emerged. So it just kind of happened. I don't want to talk too much about it because that's also something a pattern I've had in the past where I talk about something instead of just doing it. So I don't know, we'll see. But it is a big milestone. I have prototypes of a product I might make and create coming to me in like 3 days. It's very exciting, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm not going to get excited. I'm going to put the excitement in the steps and doing the steps. It feels in harmony. It's something. So anyways, I've changed my thinking. This is why I'm very excited about where this goes, because I've changed my thinking. I put it through a series of questions to realize if it's going to be something that stays consistent in my life. It's already something that is consistent in my life, and something that I think I can move forward with in a way that's sustainable. And I believe it is based on my...
I'm okay with being alive.
And I'm hoping that we see it. No, we may not, but we may see it. It's one of my favorite birds to see. I've only seen it in 2 places. My home with my wife, but my wife's been busy with work stuff. And still taking her out for walks, but Doobie's missed being out in the forest, like on hikes with me. And missed me, and I missed her too. So I felt really bad that I've been away. But she looks pretty happy right now. Yeah, she wants to just keep going and sniffing. It's a beautiful trail. Look all the way up into the trees. It's a warm summer day, but it's...
Where's the channel update one? Oh, new chapter in my life in this channel. Okay.
Hello. I'm out here in the mountains, and I have some deer next to me. Hello. My name is Gooby. What's your name? You're on the Gooby and Doobie channel. Say hello to the world. You're pretty, both of you.
Wow.
It's really magical. Watching them eat. They know which plants to eat. Like if you look here at the ground, there's all these different plants mixed together. They know which ones they can eat. Wow. How do they figure that out? Hi, I'm still here. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys well, on this hike, I've been out here in the wilderness for 4 days. This is the 4th day. And I made several videos, but I think I'm only gonna post this one, and there's one that's kind of like a meditation video, where I was watching clouds go over a ridgeline. I really feel like something's changed in my life. The last video I made was titled, I'm okay with being alive. And that really, I think, marks a change in my life. And for the longest time, I've just like been angry, defiant, separated, wanting, not at ease, in dis-ease, which is where the word disease comes from. But I really feel like something clicked to me. And I really feel like that is because I spent so much time trying to figure things out. I've talked for hours and hours and hours and hours on this channel, trying to figure out all sorts of things. And I did figure out a lot of things. But I was really trying to get to the core of myself. These feelings, these experiences, these memories, these choices, and the time and place where I live, and the culture I live in, the civilization. This time period of 8.2 billion humans alive, with all their domesticated animals, a society powered by fossil fuels. I have just been trying to make sense of all of this. And I feel like I finally come to an acceptance. I know I've said this a couple times before, but acceptance, I think, comes in waves. I think there's like acceptance for like part of things. But then you realize, oh, I didn't really fully accept the whole thing. And then you go through all the what is it, denial, rage, grieving. I don't remember all the stages. Sadness, all that stuff. You're like, yeah. Well, I've gone through multiple cycles of that. I really feel like this last cycle was pivotal, monumental. I accept civilization. I accept myself. I accept that I'm one of 8.2 billion people. I accept that we are very clever, but not very intelligent or wise. We are animals. We are just going by our biological programming for the most part. Yet we have a conscience. We have consciousness. And we have choice. Yet we choose things that aren't logical. We are illogical creatures. I have come to accept that. I've also come to accept that living in the wild is very difficult. I've spent many days this summer so far out in the wilderness with just a backpack. Now, granted that my clothing, my backpack, a lot of the supplies and equipment I have are possible due to fossil fuels. The food that I brought on this trip are possible due to fossil fuels. They were grown from fertilizer from fossil fuels. Even with that assistance, being out here is very tough. I'm out of food. Unlike the deer who know exactly which plants they can eat, and they happily go chomping away like we just saw. I don't know what plants I can eat here out of all these plants. I am out of my yummy foods. I am out of blueberries, cherry tomatoes, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, peanuts. I had some cheese that I brought, some manchego cheese as a treat for myself, and also as something salty to replenish the sweat. All I have left now is some oats and flaxseed. It's hard to get excited about that, but at least I have some food. But I don't have much left. I ate a lot of it already. So if I were to stay out here, I would have to start trying some of these foods, these plants out here, and I probably would get sick because my stomach wouldn't be used to it. I could look at what the deer are eating, but their digestive tract is likely different than mine. I'm hearing water land on these leaves. It was raining last night, and I'm walking through clouds right now. So the tree branches, they condense the water from the clouds and bring it down to the ground. Well, I don't think I would survive very long out here because I just don't have the knowledge that the deer have of how to survive out here. My experience of living in civilization means that, in a way, I am separated from nature. I don't know how to survive in it anymore without the complicated social hierarchies and machinations of industrial civilization. So I've been thinking about what to do with my life. Well, I value this tribe that I helped start create, and you've helped create too. We created it together. I value this, so I'm going to keep making some videos, but I'm not even sure what videos to make. And because, like, the really core problems that I was wrestling with, I feel like I've put them to rest. Well, so I'm going to talk about what to do with the channel and what to do with the rest of my life. I'm going to keep talking about the channel. So yeah, I wasn't sure what kind of videos to make. I did make a video yesterday where it's very windy and the clouds were going over this ridge, and it was just like a sitting kind of nature sound meditation video. I like those a lot. I will keep making them. Although this one is different because I sat in the frame of the video. So it's like we're experiencing it together. Because if I'm not in the frame of the video, it's like the viewer is all alone in the wilderness. And that can be disconcerting. It can make you feel lonely. But I decided to sit in the frame of the video so that we can experience it together. You got a companion. Like being in a tribe. Feel safer. Camaraderie. Company. Companionship. So I'm going to make some more videos like that with me in the frame. And I don't think I'm going to make videos about railing against civilization anymore unless something really pisses me off. But I don't know if something will piss me off a lot. I mean, I guess in life it's inevitable to be pissed off at some point. So I guess I may make a video railing against civilization, but I accept that I live in civilization, and I accept that I'm looking forward to going home. I'm looking forward to spending time with my wife and my doggy and have internet so I can post this video and read your comments and get ideas for new videos. And I can play with my friends online on that video game that I play every once in a while. I play maybe like once or twice a week now for a limited amount of time, and it's been fun. I used to play way too much, and I don't anymore. I am able to enjoy it and not use it to run away from things. Well, as far as what kind of videos to make, besides the one where I'm in the frame and just kind of enjoying the nature sounds like birds and water and clouds. Clouds are water. Water's fascinating. Water running in streams, water rolling in waves, water flying through the sky in the form of clouds. That's fascinating. Clouds, so pretty. Well, besides those videos, well, one of them, I do want to spend some time at the coast, Washington coast, surfing with my bodyboard in fins. But well, a lot of people watch this channel for my long talking videos. So I'm trying to figure out, what do I want to talk about? If I'm not talking about human physiology in terms of how to help your body heal, or the ills of civilization, or the evil that humans can perpetrate repeatedly, or the lies and illogical decisions and choices that we make, what am I going to talk about? Well, I think I'm actually just going to talk about what's going on in my life. Because if people watch this channel just to hear my thoughts about stuff, I'm going to just share my thoughts about what's happening. What's happening, Gooby? Well, let me tell you. I did contemplate having like a fictional persona and telling some stories from that fictional persona, but I was thinking about it and I was like, no, people come to watch these videos because I'm being authentic. I'm just sharing my life. If I create a fictional persona, that's not real, it's fake. It might be slightly entertaining, but it's not what people came here for. So that's why I think I've settled on just sharing my thoughts. More of a freeform, spontaneous, improvisation. How do you say that word? Improvisation. No, improvise. Improvisation. Yeah, I'm tempted to put an extra syllable in there. Improvisation. English. It's so weird. Well, I think that's what I'll keep doing with these videos. So you may notice that there's going to be maybe a change in the tenor of the videos, the feelings expressed, because the feelings that I feel are changing. My thoughts change. The thoughts pass through me. The feelings pass through me. I am the observer, and I am sharing what passes through me. So I guess from here, I will be sharing what Gooby, the observer, observes, both externally and internally. I think that's a pretty good goal. That's a pretty good next chapter. See, I didn't come to that realization until I made this video. Before I pressed the record button, before those deer were there, I didn't know what I was going to do. But now I do. Oh man, it's a little bit of a climb. I'm going to check my map about where I am, just so I can get an idea of how much climbing I've got left here.
Wow, completely
It's a little
alone.
bit of a climb, then down, and then back up. We're going to climb over the shoulder of this mountain. We're going to go that way, and then around, and then over the shoulder of it.
Oh my gosh.
And then it's downhill, and then another uphill. And then it's just downhill to the car. I'm glad that my leg's working. That muscle cramp thing hurt my muscle some. I can still feel it, but it's working. Now,
That's
as far as the
dangerous.
tribe thing, I'm still missing out on face-to-face tribe interactions. I saw a cool tribe come through here. Steve, that hiker, Steve and I were mentioning it. The trail crew. I saw 3 guys. They looked so tough. They were carrying saws of different kinds, a crosscut saw, hand saw, and then some big tool looked like a backhoe. It was probably to cleave off branches. But they came through here to clean up the trail and make it passable. Because there was a bunch of blowdowns, trees that fell down across the trail that I had to hop over or crawl underneath. It was like an obstacle course. I was literally crawling on my hands and knees under a couple of them. And it's just enough space that if I got really close down to the ground to crawl under, it was kind of fun. But they're going through and they're cutting those trees apart with these saws. I asked them, do you use a chainsaw? And they said chainsaws are not allowed in the wilderness. So they got to take the old school saws.
Wow.
And they're going out for 8 days to clean up the trail. So I thank them. I thank them for what they do. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty cool group of people. That's like a little tribe. So I've been thinking about maybe volunteering or something. And I asked the guy, I was like, well, how would I get involved with something like this? And he said, check out the Washington Trail Association. And I asked him. They have volunteer work and they have jobs. So I think I actually will. I'm not sure. I got so many things going on in my life that between hiking, this, just taking care of myself, taking care of my wife and my doggy, making sure my doggy's happy, making sure my wife's happy, and then expressing some creativity and like writing some. And I haven't made a song in a while. I'd like to make some more music. Between all that and then playing some online games with my friends once or twice a week and doing these hikes, I don't really have that much time left over. So maybe I just have to accept that my life will be a little bit more isolated in terms of face-to-face interactions, but actually very, very wealthy in terms of online interactions through interacting with you. And my online friends that I play games with. I like them a lot. They're a good group of friends. Well, I think those are my thoughts. Those are what Doobie the Observer observes in himself and the universe. Tribes, changes, feelings, thoughts, passing through and observing. I think this is a good place to end the video. I'll show you, oh, there's a nice stream back here and birds. Oh, this is a perfect place to end the video. We'll have a view of the stream going down the mountain with the sounds and some bird song. Bye.
That's a stream? That doesn't look like a stream, it looks like rocks. I am excited for this new chapter of your life and channel. Welcome to AI in Context. Okay.
You've probably heard a lot of claims about AI. It's gonna take your job. It's gonna take all the jobs. It's a bubble waiting to burst. It still can't count the R's in strawberry. It still can't draw hands. It's going to literally kill everybody. What on earth is a reasonable person supposed to make of this? Here's where I'm at. For the last 5 years, I've been figuring out what I think about all this and how to talk about the risks of AI honestly, unpretentiously, and without hype. I'm still figuring that out, but one thing I'm sure of, there is a hugely important conversation happening right now about our future, and not enough people are a part of it. The people building more and more powerful AIs are racing towards something that
This AI video was insane. We're not ready for super intelligence? This one.
the impact of superhuman AI over the next decade will exceed that of the Industrial Revolution. That is the opening claim of AI 2027. It is a thoroughly researched report. AI 2027 scenario starts in...
This video is incredible. I'll share it in the comments here in case you want to watch it on your own time. Yeah, it's totally worth watching.
I never really wanted to talk about politics.
Are you watching this all the way through? I already watched it. I already watched it. You should totally check it out.
Because it's always seemed like a toxic mess to me. Left versus right, red versus blue. Just a bunch of people yelling at each other online while nothing truly changes. But lately, I don't know about you, but it feels like politics has invaded every part of our lives. You literally can't scroll through social media or watch the news nowadays without feeling like...
Oops, I was way back in the live. Oops. No worries.
The world's on fire. And suddenly, all the stuff that we used to ignore, it kind of starts to feel personal, because it is personal. And let me explain. Have you ever noticed that the people making the biggest decisions about our future won't even be around to live in it? I think that's absolutely insane, and you probably do too. What's the average age of Congress right now? Probably around 60. The people running for president are becoming older and older over the years, pushing 80. And there's nothing inherently wrong with old people, but at the same time, these are the same people who didn't grow up with internet, can't open a PDF, who have trouble with email.
Hello. I thought I was done filming for this hiking trip, but how can you pass up this view? Whoa, you can see all the way into the valley. Look at that. I can see many miles. And then in the distance, there's snow-covered mountains that go up into the clouds. They're so tall. And I can hear a river down there. And I'm just imagining all these creatures and animals drinking from the stream. They live down there. This is their home. What a cool home. I'm gonna try to hold the camera this way. I gotta adjust it though. Let's see if this works. That way you can see this beautiful view while I walk. And you can see me too. Yeah, I think that'll work. Whoa.
That is an amazing view. It totally is. Yeah, Devin, that's an amazing
It's
view
the
for
walking,
sure.
walking panoramic view. Holy moly. Well, these animals that live here, they call it their home. But this is really our home too. We live here too. We live here on this planet. This planet is really cool. There's just so many plants here that I have no idea what their names are. Like this Dr. Seuss one with little dewdrops on it. All of these flowering plants, green plants, conifer trees. I know what that is. That's a lupine. Beautiful blue purple flowers. There's so many plants here that I don't know. My last video I made, I was talking about having a new chapter in my life. A new chapter where I'm just going to make videos where I share what I observe being gooby. Like this. And what I observe flowing through me, my thoughts and feelings, ideas. I also talked about doing creative stuff, writing, making music, spending time with my wife and my doggy. But I thought of one thing that I did not. We got a trail go over here. Hello. Here, I'll make room for you here. Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm almost done with the hike. Yes. Take care. Thank you. You too. I thought of something that I wanted to do, and I have been doing, but now that I've got some mental space freed up because I've been using so much mental energy, emotional, psychological energy, trying to figure out these complicated things that I was wrestling with. Namely, why do people hurt each other and themselves, and why do they lie about it? And why don't they act logically and take care of their home, this beautiful earth? Why do people do that? And
I bet someone commented that he should download a plant app so he can see what they are. Yeah, maybe.
I spent a lot of time thinking about it. But I think I'm done thinking about that. I just came to the conclusion that we're animals. We're kind of clever, but we're not very smart or wise. I don't think we deserve the name that we gave ourselves, Homo sapiens sapiens. And that's okay. That's just part of being human. We mess up a lot of stuff. That's okay. I mean, it'd be nice if we preserved this beautiful planet, but I don't think we're going to. And I accept that. So now that I've got more mental energy freed up, I've got space in my mind, I'm going to return back to something that I really like, which is learning about the life forms that we share this planet with. Namely, plants. I'm very interested in plants. And fungi, but I don't see that many fungi. And I'm very interested in what plants I can eat, particularly the leafy ones. I've spent time learning about berries, so I have a pretty good handle on all the berries, except I saw a berry up here that I've never seen before, and I don't know what it was. So I didn't eat it. But what was really inspiring was, at the beginning of the last video, there was 2 deer who were curious about me, and I was curious about them, and I just hung out with them for a little bit. And they just walked around and munching different plants, not just one plant. And I was thinking, how do they know what plants are good for them and what plants are not good for them? They don't have a forging book, handbook to reference. They don't have a picture.
Okay, let's see.
Hi. I was coming up this ridge and I saw these clouds passing over the mountain. So I wanted to share that with you. It's a valley. I'll show you over here. There's a big valley. Same thing on this side. A little bit of snow. But what I'm really interested in is all of it, especially these clouds. And there's these beautiful
It's
pink
raining.
clouds. So I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy being outside, and you're welcome to join me. I'm not gonna be talking for the rest of this video. Just chill.
It's raining.
Hi. Today I'd like to talk about a bird I just saw out my window and share 3 short videos that I couldn't fit anywhere else, so I'm just going to put them together here. And it has a theme. They're all about animals, and a couple of them are about animal babies, and one's about making babies. So we'll start with the bird that I saw out my window. I didn't have my phone, so I couldn't capture a video of it, but I did learn about it. So let's see here. We're going to go to the interwebs, because I'm back in Civilization, and Civilization has the interwebs, which is really cool. Well, this is the bird that I saw outside my window. It's called the northern flicker. It lives throughout North America, a little bit in Mexico, but all of the United States, and they go up to Canada to breed. And it's pretty big. It was like this tall and like that big around the body, and when its wings were out, it was like this. Big bird. It's a type of woodpecker, and it's got really cool. Oh, here's the range where it lives. There's a yellow and a red one, and so I guess I saw the red one because I live here on the west coast of the United States. But it's got this really cool kind of stripes across its back, and a red spot on the back of the head, but the males have.
The Roman Emperor Diocletian ruled during the crisis of the 3rd century, a time of nearly constant civil war, economic chaos, and administrative bloat. He implemented reforms, a damned rare thing. In 2017, I stopped writing. He had simply played his role and was ready to exit the stage, and that is a damned rare thing. In 2017, I stopped writing. At the time, I had a decent following, a niche audience, sure, but consistent. A few essays had circulated widely. I was invited onto podcasts. Somebody asked if I'd ever thought about turning the ideas into a book. But something was off. Every time I sat down to write, I found myself mimicking the tone that had worked before, repeating old tricks. I wasn't thinking, I was just optimizing. The reward system was clear. Make something punchy, keep it on brand, add a clear metaphor. The more I succeeded at that, the more I hated it. And then I stopped. I didn't announce it, I didn't frame it as a break, I just let the old voice die. For a while it felt like I had disappeared. No more DMs, no more retweets. The silence was sharper than expected. Part of me wondered if I'd made a mistake. But after the withdrawal symptoms wore off, I found a kind of relief. I was still thinking, still reading, still curious, and eventually I started writing again. But not for the algorithm, for something else. Call it status death. It's the decision to trade recognition for freedom, prestige, potential. A Twitter founder walking away from millions of followers to code in peace. A Yale professor leaving tenure to become a beekeeper. A once public CEO deleting their LinkedIn and reappearing 6 years later as a pseudonymous blogger. They aren't cancelled, bankrupted, or broken. They just chose obscurity on purpose. Status death is not failure. It's a pivot that appears, externally, as disappearance. And it is one of the strangest, most quietly powerful forces in any ambitious life. Max Weber, writing in the early 20th century, described the idea of status groups in contrast to class. Where class was about economic resources, status was about social esteem. The priest, the professor, the war hero, each may have modest income but immense standing. Modern digital life has both collapsed and expanded status structure. Online, a 19-year-old with a webcam can earn more admiration than a tenured economist. A startup founder can build a cult of personality with a few blog posts. In every niche, there is a social ladder, and everyone knows who is on what rung. And the rungs are sticky. The higher you climb, the more tempting it is to grip tightly to your rung, because everyone below is watching, because you worked for it, because you fear the fall. But the same ladder that lifts you can also box you in. An academic who builds their reputation in one narrow field becomes unable to explore others. A VC who earns their prestige by saying no to most deals can no longer say yes to weird bets. An influencer with a large audience built on one kind of message finds themselves speaking only in that key. Eventually, you may find yourself trapped inside your own persona, and that is when status death appears as a door. Founders have a curious relationship to identity. In the early days, they are nobody. When they get a hit or a viral tweet or a round of funding, and suddenly they're asked to speak on panels, they are written about, and the halo appears. But success in one startup doesn't always map to the next thing, especially if you want to do something unexpected. The founder of a social app pivoting to hardware looks unserious. The AI researcher turning toward friction might lose funding. The public expects continuity. And so some founders make the leap privately. They abandon their old profiles. They start new projects under different names. They refuse interviews. They exit group chats. They let the old identity grow cold. And this is not always glamorous. It looks like defeat. But if you trace the biographies of the most successful entrepreneurs of decades, a pattern emerges. They vanish, reappear, and often their second or third acts are stranger and stronger than the first. Founders who survive long enough all go through a status death. It is a rite of passage, an intentional exile. You burn the old skin so the new one can grow. Irving Goffman, in The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, describes social interaction as a kind of theatre. We are all playing roles. The problem is, once a role becomes legible to others, we feel compelled to stick to the script. And that problem compounds online. You gain followers for one kind of post, and deviation leads to punishment. A productivity guru who begins writing about their divorce will see engagement drop. Even small pivots invite confusion. Eventually, the self becomes ossified. Your identity is an asset now, and any deviation risks its value. This is true for creators, academics, CEOs, even pseudonymous accounts. Once status is attached, deviation becomes risk. And that risk creates an illusion that you are trapped in the identity you built. But you aren't. You can drop it. The cost is real, but so is the freedom. In T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, the narrator imagines himself constrained by judgment. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions which a minute will reverse. Prufrock is paralyzed by the gaze of others. He fears mockery. He imagines his every... Status death has different tactics depending on context. Pseudonymity, adopting a new identity entirely, often online, to build without legacy expectation. The silent sabbatical, logging off, avoiding public spaces, going dark on old channels. The refusal of legacy perks, declining invitations, avoiding speaking slots, ignoring the expectation to weigh in. Anti-promotion, launching a new project without tapping old audiences or networks. These aren't failures of ambition, they are often accelerants. By stripping away the legacy costume, people can work faster, freer, stranger. You can write weirder essays, build odder tools, say what you actually think. But it is a lonely road. There are no applause breaks in exile. We are wired to care about reputation. Evolutionary psychology suggests that in small tribes, social standing was survival. To lose face was to lose protection, mates, food. So when someone walks away from status today, the brain registers it as danger. The fear is visceral. Status death is not always permanent. Many who vanish come back, sometimes under their real name, sometimes with new ones. Sometimes they re-enter the scene, no one notices they were gone. Other times they return mythologized. See Steve Jobs in the 90s. There's a line from Hemingway. The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places. Those who return from status death often do so with a new clarity. Less fragile ego, more daring ideas. A refusal to play the old games. They can afford to experiment because they have been irrelevant before and lived. I think the world is built by people who are willing to do that. People who walk away from the exact thing others are still chasing because they know the shape of the trap. If you want to build things over a lifetime, you will face this moment. You'll look at the persona you've built and feel trapped inside it. You'll feel that the price of continuing is authenticity, and you'll hesitate. The hesitation is good. It means you're not numb. If you're serious, you'll burn it down, or at least let it die. Then you begin again. Freer, stranger, better. Call it molting, call it reinvention, call it escape velocity. I call it status death, and if you want to play a long game, you'll probably need to go through it more than once.
Interesting.
there's a psychological barrier that divides the world into two distinct camps. Those who build things, and those who only critique them. And this barrier has nothing to do with technical skill, intelligence, or even opportunity. It's the ability to absorb embarrassment. It's what we might call cringe tolerance. Every successful entrepreneur, artist, or innovator has had to endure the particular agony of putting imperfect work into the world. They've had to ship products with bugs, publish essays with typos, launch businesses with amateur websites, and present ideas that initially sound absurd. The difference between builders and non-builders comes down to this: who can stomach the discomfort and who cannot. Cringe tolerance describes the psychological capacity to act despite the certainty that others will judge your work as amateurish, naive, or embarrassing. It's the ability to post your first YouTube video knowing it will be awkward, to launch your website despite its obvious design flaws, to share your writing before it reaches professional polish. This tolerance operates on multiple levels: the immediate cringe of putting out work before it's ready, the sustained cringe of defending something imperfect, and the retrospective cringe of looking back at earlier efforts. Each level requires its own form of psychological fortitude. Facebook began as a crude Harvard directory with the tagline, "A Mark Zuckerberg production." YouTube's first video featured a 19-second clip of someone standing in front of elephants. Twitter launched with the question, "What are you doing?" rather than "What's happening?" These origins were undeniably amateur. Benjamin Franklin's early attempts at writing were so awkward that his brother James refused to publish them in the New England Courant. Franklin persisted, eventually developing the pseudonym Silence Dogood to get his work published. His initial efforts were undeniably amateur, yet he tolerated the embarrassment of imperfection long enough to develop genuine skill. Virginia Woolf captured this tension perfectly in her essay A Room of One's Own, where she described the psychological barriers facing women writers. The fear of appearing foolish, of being judged as presumptuous for attempting serious work, paralyzed many potential creators. The cringe-intolerant mind operates under an evolutionarily defensible but fatal assumption: that work should only be shared when it reaches some mythical standard of completeness. Virginia Woolf captured this tension perfectly. Virginia Woolf captured this tension in her essay A Room of One's Own, where she described the cringe-intolerant mind operates under an evolutionarily defensible but fatal assumption: that work should only be shared when it reaches some mythical standard of completeness. This perfectionist impulse feels virtuous in its standards. Why would anyone want to put subpar work into the world? But this thinking contains a flaw. It assumes that perfection is achievable in isolation, that one can reach professional quality without the messy process of iteration, feedback, and gradual improvement. History suggests otherwise. The Wright brothers' first flight lasted 12 seconds and traveled 120 feet. Shakespeare's early plays were considered crude by contemporary standards. The first iPhone lacked copy and paste functionality. By refusing to tolerate initial embarrassment, you almost guarantee that you will never reach the competence that would eliminate it. The only path to eventually producing non-cringe is through the temporary production and embrace of cringe. Building means entering a feedback loop that inevitably begins with embarrassment. You create something imperfect, share it, receive criticism, improve it, and repeat. This process only works if you can tolerate the initial discomfort of showing incomplete work. The cringe intolerant never enter this loop. They polish endlessly in private, seeking some impossible standard of perfection before sharing. Meanwhile, the cringe tolerant ship early, learn from real-world feedback, and iterate rapidly. And over time, this difference compounds. Think about the difference between a novice writer who publishes a weekly blog post, despite its obvious flaws, and another who spends months perfecting a single essay in private. The blogger will likely produce better work within a year, having learned from reader responses, developed their voice through practice, and built an audience that provides ongoing motivation. There is a social dimension here. Most acts of building require convincing others to take you seriously before you've proven yourself, pitching ideas that sound naive, asking for help when you're clearly inexperienced, and representing projects that are obviously incomplete. Most founders recall their early pitches as embarrassingly amateur. They mispronounced industry terms, made obviously flawed financial projections, and stumbled through presentations, but they persisted through this discomfort, gradually learning to communicate more effectively. The alternative approach, waiting until you can pitch perfectly, rarely works. And by the time you've achieved that level of polish, the market opportunity has passed you, or your idea has become outdated. The ability to tolerate looking foolish while learning becomes essential. The Silicon Valley culture of failing fast represents an extreme form of cringe tolerance, where embarrassing failures are almost celebrated as learning experiences. It's a cultural norm that enables rapid experimentation and iteration, even when individual attempts look naive or misguided. The creator who can stomach early embarrassment eventually produces work that is far less embarrassing than someone who has waited for perfection. This happens through multiple mechanisms. Practice improves skill, feedback refines judgment, and confidence develops through accumulated experience. More than that, audiences respond more positively to authentic imperfection than to sterile perfection. The early, rough attempts connect more with actual people than polished work that feels distant or manufactured. And this creates a virtuous cycle. Tolerance for imperfection actually leads to better outcomes. The discomfort of sharing imperfect work is temporary, while the regret of never sharing can be permanent. The embarrassment of a failed project fades quickly, but the pain of unexpressed potential can last for decades. The advice is straightforward. Start before you're ready, share before it's perfect, and embrace the temporary discomfort of appearing like an amateur. The alternative, waiting for competence before attempting, guarantees that competence will never, ever arrive.
Nice. Start before you're ready.
I read over 100 creativity books, thousands of pages from the greatest creative minds in history. I wanted to figure out how we can finally finish our best ideas. And I think I found the answer. Now, if you care about your art, your music, or your craft, like really care, what I'm about to share could change everything for you. Because this isn't just another perfectionism is bad speech. This goes deeper. And here's what I discovered. Perfectionism isn't about having high standards. It's about having low courage. And so I'm going to break this down into 5 keys that change how I think about creativity forever. And if you really want to go deeper, in the description of this video, I'll leave a list of all my books that I've read on creativity, and also a list of the best book notes that I have on perfectionism. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's dive right in. The first key is something that I found buried in the research that nobody talks about, and it's this. Perfectionists create the lowest quality work. And I know that sounds backward, but let me prove it to you. This breakthrough happened when I came across a psychology experiment that appears in multiple creativity books. Picture this. A ceramics teacher divides his class into 2 groups. One graded on quantity, and the other graded the semester. Guess which group had the highest quality work? It was the quantity group, by a landslide, because they were busy making pots, failing fast, learning from every mistake, trying again and again. They made hundreds of terrible pots and accidentally discovered how to make masterpieces. Meanwhile, Group B got stuck in their heads, planning and overthinking and avoiding mistakes. And since they were so afraid to make something bad, they never learned how to make something great. This reveals something profound. Quality emerges from quantity, not from the pursuit of perfection. Good art comes from making lots of art, not from trying to be perfect. Picasso made 147,000 pieces of art in his life. Most were bad, but some changed art forever. Casey Neistat made 900 daily vlog videos that made him a better storyteller. And Cause tagged hundreds of spots in New York to build his empire. Quality emerges from quantity. Mastery comes from repetition. Genius is born from being willing to fail fast and often. And all of that takes courage. So here's what I want you to do. Set a timer for 60 minutes and make as many small versions of your idea as you can. And at the end, pick your favorite one and expand on it. Because quantity is the fastest path to discovering quality. Creative confidence says that the messiness of this tactic may feel uncomfortable at first, but it helps you learn at a faster rate so that your desire to be your best won't get in the way of getting better.
If you don't fail, you're not even trying. I'll say it again. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. My wife told me this great expression. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did.
All right, before I get to the next key, I have countless notes packed with breakthroughs and insights. And if you want access to all my notes on creativity, quality of your art isn't the real problem of perfection. Tap the link in the description and tell me where to send them. Okay, now here's the thing. Lowering the quality of your art isn't the real problem of perfectionism. What if I told you that it's also killing your originality? Look, the more you polish your work, the more you erase your voice. When you're obsessed with getting everything right, you start copying what already works for other people. You study successful art, you study successful music, you study successful writing, and you try to reverse engineer your idea of what perfection looks like. So you copy it, you play it safe, and you end up making work that's skillful, but has no soul. And so I challenge you to pick a project you've been working on forever and add something weird or imperfect, just a surprising detail that feels like you, and then share it without removing that part. Being yourself matters more than being perfect.
You don't start things and not finish them. You don't quit. There's nothing that comes out of quitting besides knowing that you didn't finish. We finish everything. You start it, finish it. If you're going to do it to try and be the best. Not be better than other people, be the best for you.
3 years into writing my book on creativity, Create or Die, I realized I've been editing the life out of my work in pursuit of some impossible standard. But the key that I discovered next changed everything for me. Paul Gardner observed that a painting is never finished, it simply stops in interesting places. Pixar's Lee Unkrich said, they don't ever finish a film. They could keep making it better. They're just forced to release it. Even Steve Jobs said, real artists ship. And the first iPhone wasn't perfect. It didn't even have copy and paste. But in releasing it, Apple learned what users actually needed, and they adjusted quickly. If they waited for perfection, we might still be using BlackBerries to this day. Here's what most artists don't know. Mastery happens in the loop of creating, finishing, sharing, and repeating. Perfectionism breaks this loop. It keeps you stuck in the creation phase, endlessly polishing, never learning, never growing. The world is full of brilliant ideas that died in the pursuit of perfection. Meanwhile, the work that actually changes you and the world, that moves people, that makes a difference, it's all imperfect, it's all flawed, it's all human, and that's exactly why it connects. Salvador Dali said it best. He said, have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it. Because perfection is sterile, perfection is cold, perfection is inhuman. Imperfection is where the magic truly lives. And showcasing your imperfections to the world takes courage. And so I challenge you, sit quietly with one of your unfinished works and ask yourself, what would it take for me to release this today? And whatever the answer is, do that.
If you're gonna do it, do it. Say what you can do what you say. Finish it, find out. Come out the other side. Don't leave it and go, if I just would, that keeps me up at night. I think it keeps a lot of us up at night.
All right, before I get to what I think is the craziest key about perfectionism, I created a free 30-day course on unlocking your creative potential. It's easy to join, just tap the experience so far. All right, now, here's the most shocking discovery that I found about perfectionism. And it's gonna sound harsh because it attacks perfectionism at its core. Perfectionism is selfish. Elizabeth Gilbert writes in Big Magic that the most evil trick about perfectionism is it disguises itself as a virtue. Most people think perfectionism is about having high standards. They wear it like a badge of honor. They say it proudly, oh yeah, I'm a perfectionist, as if it's a strength. But as the artist Wade points out, perfectionism is not a quest for the best, it's the pursuit of the worst in ourselves. Because here's the truth, when we hold back our work because it's not perfect enough, who are we really serving? We're serving our ego, our fear, our need to be seen as flawless. We're not serving the person who desperately needs to hear our message, the person who's waiting for our art to change their life, the person who would be moved by our imperfect, human, beautiful work. Every day you delay releasing your work is a day that you're withholding your gift from the world. I started this YouTube channel 5 months ago, yet I've been planning on starting YouTube for over 5 years. My camera isn't 4K, my lighting isn't the best, my audio isn't studio quality, yet I show up week after week sharing the insights that I've learned over the years. And sometimes I look at the comments and I think like, man, if I waited to release my videos, there's so many people who wouldn't have found my videos when they needed it the most. And in a way, my imperfect videos have created hundreds of perfect moments around the world. And that's the point of art. As Seth Godin wrote, your generosity is more important than your perfection. So the next time you're about to release your project and you feel an urge to push back your deadline, close your eyes and imagine the person whose life might change because you shared it. And let that
We arrived at Venice. We learned our lesson from Lisbon. So before the flight, we actually decided to sleep. And you know what, Isaac, we're ready for this day, aren't we?
We are, full of energy.
So I promise you guys, this video will at least be 20 minutes, maybe 15. Okay, minimum 10. First thing first, we have to get something to eat. Even though we've slept, we still need food in our system. Where to go?
That's a nice shirt.
Where to go, eh?
It's got a little detail inside that that is a nice shirt.
The middle class is arguably the greatest invention of the United States of America. Forget airplanes, the internet, or Red 40, the idea that be afloat, which, whether we like it or not, is good for all of us. And that makes it incredibly hard to have an open and honest conversation about the forces actively sabotaging the US economy. Because those forces represent both the young and the old, the rich and the poor, billion in R&D grants to support small business. Depending on the But this isn't always the case. Some people with of rich people with the hopes that copying their routines will make them rich too. On the more innocent side of things, copycat trends might play out as young men getting obsessed with things like crypto and cold plunges, because that's what millionaire influencers do. But on the more nefarious end, this turns into middle-class parents completely ruining their children's lives by trying to raise their kids in the same way that rich people do. Instead, creating a society of young adults who are riddled with anxiety disorders, are way overeducated relative to their pay, and are angry and confused about why women still don't like them, despite having a sexy computer engineering degree. In the world of parenting psychology, this is called concerted cultivation, or tiger parenting, where lower or middle class parents will intentionally stack their child's free time with activities that are meant to land them a scholarship or some type of societal advantage down the road. These can be things like piano, math competitions, foreign language stuff,
That's it for my... Maybe this.
Hey guys, it's Ray. How's it going? Recently, I'm thinking about success for life, and I realized that just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean success for your life. I mean, many people who are rich, or who have a big house, or really, really great cars, things like that, or married, yeah, but many of them feel unhappy, and some of them like end up addicted, alcohol or drugs, or getting devils again and again. I thought success means getting a great job or getting a lot of money, things like that. But I saw that kind of people, and then yeah, so that's why I'm thinking about success and successful life. And I realized that knowing yourself is really crucial to successful life, I guess. If you don't know who you are, it's really hard to feel happy, I guess. Because if you have a lot of money and then buy a car or buy a house or whatever, like things what you want, and then maybe you feel like you have just a lot of things, but you feel like you're empty. I mean, that kind of people are just chasing what society tells you to chase, right? There are a lot of ads, or like new devices, new fashion styles, cars, houses, and I think most of that kind of things, people don't need that kind of things. People buy that kind of things because society tells them. And people think they need that kind of thing. They have to buy that kind of thing. I think people know who they are, and then what kind of things give them like happy or satisfied.
I've binged enough. Wait, did I watch that? I might have watched it.
Hey, it's me, Zerst. So, I know, I'm surprised. I never really said my name, like my channel name, in my videos, but I guess today's the first. But anyways, today I sort of want to just talk about society and how I realized how messed up everything is in general, and how all the cracks are just opening this year. It's kind of crazy, right? Ever since, like, Trump, became the president, a lot of chaos unfolded, right? Doesn't matter which side you're in. You have to admit, there's a lot of chaos that's unfolding currently in our current event. It's like a lot of people think we're not a part of history. People think history as something that's on the past, right? But we are living in history right now, and it's very scary to think about where we're heading, right? So let's talk about my life first, because I know a lot of you returning viewers do want to also listen to like what's been going on, right? And what's been happening like in my life. So first of all, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in and just continuing to support me on my journey and just continuing to watch my videos. This honestly means a lot, and I'm very grateful. I have a lot of you who are listening to me. If you're new here, really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I know it's hard to listen to me sometimes because I tend to stutter and stumble a lot, and I don't really, say and my points in the best way possible, right? Sometimes I end up not making sense, so I do apologize, but thank you all for being patient with me all this time. So regarding my life, I just want to say that today's been a bit of an annoying day. At work, I had to basically do the work of 3 people. Apparently 2 people in my factory took a day off, so I was kind of stuck building products. That was supposed to take like 10 hours to build, but they wanted me to finish it in 5 hours, which is kind of absurd. And on a bus, there was an old lady. She seemed very ill, very sick, and she was coughing like every 5-10 seconds. She was wearing a mask, and she was right in front of me, so there's that. And today's was awfully hot. It's like almost like 35 degrees here. I don't know what's...
Oh my god.
Maybe it's global warming. But yeah, today's not been the best day for me. So back to today's topic. So today I just want to talk about society, right? And usually at work, when I'm working in a factory, right, I think about things like this. I think about why and what am I truly contributing to, right? When I build these car parts, right? Am I really contributing to a greater cause, or am I just there just to help a CEO meet, make their investors happy, right? And just see their revenue go up. It makes me wonder And sometimes I like to think deeper than, what normal neurotypical people think. As someone who's neurodivergent, I tend to think about things that's sort of abnormal, unconventional, you could say. And I do apologize if I do end up, stuttering a lot because there's a lot to cover. And, a lot of it, it's just in the bottom of my chest. I really want to just get it out, right? It's just been on my mind for a very long time, so do brace yourselves. So, yeah, I know I stutter a lot, I rambled way too much. I should have just said what I want to say straight away, but it's not, I want to share you a piece of my life and want to thank you all as well. So first of all, I just want to say that I feel like a lot of people are very centered nowadays, right? For example, at work, I know a lot of people just care about their own self, right? They like to cover their ass, right? For example, if you're at work, probably want to cover yourself, want to make sure you have the best benefits, make sure you get PTO, get the vacation time, you don't really care about your coworkers. I know that's saying how you shouldn't make your coworkers your friends, and the crazy part is that it feels like some people end up dating people apparently that are their coworkers. I had a couple, and literally there was two coworkers in my factory who ended up dating each other. They met there and they fell in love, and they quit the company afterwards. Crazy story, right? So it's interesting about how people end up focusing on themselves first. Sometimes they don't pretend to care about, right? They sometimes pretend to care about working and care about the company, but they actually just care about getting a raise for themselves, right? Ultimately, people have their own survival instinct, right? We evolve, and our natural instinct is to protect ourselves, make ourselves feel comfortable, make ourselves feel happy, right? That's why people don't like to feel pain, people don't like getting injured, people don't like getting shit on by others, right? And yeah, ultimately, humans are inherently selfish, which I've covered in a previous video, and I know this is very off topic, but sure, a lot of this will come together towards the end. So it's unfortunate how a lot of us humans don't really put ourselves in other people's shoes anymore. And it's not just rich people, right? You might think it's only rich people and billionaires, but it's us common folk as well. People who are the exploited class, people who are the common folk, right? We end up just caring about ourselves, care about our own livelihoods, we care about our kids, right? That's totally reasonable, right? And it's unfortunate how sometimes we have to sacrifice others in the expense of our own inner circle, right? For example, we have to sort of step on others, right? That's just a way of life. Some of you will say that's just the way life is, right? But you see, life could be so much better than this if we were actually altruistic, right? If we were much more selfless. And I'll get to that in a bit. So another thing I want to say is that it's unfortunate how a lot of people see others as objects that are used to be manipulated, right?
Okay, I think that about covers.
Hi, it's really hot and humid in Japan.
Re.
It's in the middle of July. So we finally finished the rainy season and really hot, humid summer season has just begun. So today, I would like to give you the latest grocery prices under the non-stop inflation in Japan. So I was very surprised. Must be very slower than other countries in G7 inflation rate. Every prices for everything has been increasing and meal. So I'm going to show you the prices and how I'm feeling right now. And for you, 1 year ago, bento box, barbecue bento box, the barbecue on the rice, the beef barbecue on the rice, and you have egg. And I paid 645 Japanese yen, slightly higher the previous one. 645 Japanese yen divided 147.
That's $6.45.
4.38 US dollar. Almost 4.4 US. Bento, my son's dinner.
Oh, look at that.
I've heard of percentages before, I just don't think I've watched the stuff.
I got a live stream watching another live stream. What are you doing,
anyone
man?
still here, or did my thing crash?
Damn, someone gave him $2 US.
Sucks that we can't just all come together as the human race. Yeah, that's a little bit idealistic. I think conflict is just part of the human condition in a sense, so it's impossible to eliminate it. You just have to kind of look out for your own best interests and then the best interest for your family and friends as well. We hear you, okay. Great. Yeah, there's just a little bit of a lag between what I'm saying and the chat, but I'm glad to see that it's still working. Alright. You guys have any other interesting stuff? There have been some not so good questions, but also a lot of very good questions.
How much did I miss?
Or just like any topics you want me to
An hour and a
want me
half.
to talk about. Just like my whole rant about the education system and the connections to you know who. Did you miss my question? Do you think sports are fixed? Not all, but I think certain boxing fights are. Like, have you seen the whole like the Jake Paul bullshit? I think the Jake Paul fights are fixed. Not necessarily fixed in exactly what happens, but just telling the opponent like, yeah, you're not supposed to win, and then if you lose, we'll give you more money. Thoughts on Tucker Carlson? I think he's extremely articulate. He's a very good public speaker, and he gives very based opinions on certain issues. But yeah, I've heard that like he might try to run for president or something. He's a very good communicator. I wish I was like as articulate as him in talking about issues.
Okay. I've been watching enough. Yep. Now I'm just at my own channel. Okay, let's change this. Change this to speaker. Yep, okay. Oh, that was a long YouTube sesh. 3 hours and 21 minutes. Damn. Okay. That's enough for today. Thanks for tuning in if you're still here. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.